Hey Froggy friends, Kirostyle here. Welcome back to Umineko, Episode 3, Banquet of the Golden Witch. Thank you so much for joining me here on stream, and Happy New Year's Eve for those of you that are in my time zone, and for those of you that are on the other side of the world, Happy New Year's! Thank you so much for coming by, I really appreciate it. It's been a week since my last stream, and I haven't taken a break from streaming in a while since my eye surgery, so it was kind of nice to have just a week of not streaming, but I do miss it. I miss you guys. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it would have been well into January by now. I hope you're having a good new year. Hope things are going well for you. And thank you so much for watching my videos. So, in the last video, we started Umineko Episode 3. And right away, things are a little bit different. We're kind of cutting to the chase a little bit faster. And more magical characters are appearing because, according to Beatrice, her power is coming back because Badler almost gave in the last episode. So we were introduced to a couple new characters. Ronov, who is Beatrice's demon butler, and he seems very polite, but he also likes to poke fun at his mistress. And we also were briefly introduced to Beatrice's predecessor, who was also named Beatrice, when our Beatrice was a child, the one who taught her magic. And we've also been seeing this like younger version of Ava, who she's basically like a representation of Ava and her mindset when she was a younger self and being more ambitious, wanting to take over the Umineko, or the Ushiyamiya family, not the Umineko family. And she kind of keeps this younger self internalized within her, almost like an imaginary friend, but not quite. So we'll be seeing more of her later on. And so, of course, we've been seeing a lot of magical characters, like the Seven Sisters of Purgatory, the Seven stakes we've been seeing stabbed into people, but personified. And we're going to see more of them this episode as well. So let's continue. When we last left off, sorry, my throat was like a little bit hoarse for a little bit. I was coughing. Not that I'm sick. I guess I'm not used to speaking in front of the camera after so long of a break. So last time, Badler and Beatrice were arguing about whether there's a 19th person on the island. Badler was going to use the existence of a 19th person to his advantage, using a devil's proof in order to accuse a human culprit without blaming one of his relatives. But Beatrice countered with Hempel's Raven, which is kind of like a new logical thinking technique as a way to counter the devil's proof. So they argue for a bit, and then now Beatrice says that Rosa is going to explain something that will throw a wrench into Badler's plans about using a 19th person, which in this case, the 19th person would be Kinzo's mistress Beatrice, who lives in some hidden hideaway in the forest that all the relatives have been suspecting for years. So that's where we're kind of at. I think we're going to reach the first twilight today easily. It's like, this scene I think is quite lengthy, but then after that we're going to get into the murder mystery again. Hey, Psycho Reaper, thank you so much for coming by. Hey, CB, good to see you. Yeah, I'm doing well. It was nice having a little break from streaming. I was able to get some stuff done along with my break and work on some things. It's nice to be back though, but it's kind of nice having the time to myself too, so we'll see. Alright, let's get going. So this scene is all the adults of the Ushiyamiya family are still in the dining room discussing what to do about their father's inheritance and Beatrice after Maria gave them the letter and then all the kids got sent away. Hey Jason, welcome. Thank you so much for coming by. Happy New Year. Welcome. Hope you have a great year ahead of you. Of course, I think the same way. Rosa does too, right? Rosa? Huh? Sorry. Me too. I think that too. What's wrong, Rosa-san? You've been really quiet for a while now. Are you feeling sick? From the beginning, Rosa had never been one to cut in on the siblings' fights. But even so, she seemed unmotivated. And had said almost nothing during this night's conference. The whole time she hung her head and appeared to be thinking of something else. You've been in a daze for a while now. Do you think you could protect the inheritance like that? You're also the mother of your child, so get a stronger hold on yourself. I'm sorry. Did you wake up really early in the morning? If you feel sick, you shouldn't overdo it. The beds in our guest rooms have been prepared. How about taking a rest? I will guide you. No, I am fine. Thank you. What is it? Is there something you're worrying about? No, not really. Is that so? It feels like your mind has been elsewhere this whole time. I wonder if that has anything to do with what we've been talking about. At those words, everyone stared at Rosa together. As if in response, Rosa's shoulders quivered. Apparently, Kirie's guess hadn't been wrong. Rosa couldn't deny it either. No, She swallowed whatever it was that she was trying to say, and went silent again. Of course, the other siblings also began to realize that something about her appearance was different from usual. What is it? You've been weird for a while. Did you think of something? We all just swore to remain united, didn't we? Don't hold back worrying by yourself. We said we'd talk. Rosa, tell us. The men pressed her one after the other, and Rosa confessed resignedly and nervously. The atmosphere made it seem as though she was confessing to some modest prank, which had inadvertently brought about a serious situation. No, this mistress of grandfather's, this Beatrice, I was wondering if she's still alive. Huh? Isn't it obvious that she's alive? After all, she was able to send that letter to us. Whether she's in good health or not is a different story, though. The woman in that portrait must be getting up there in age by now. I'd say she's healthy. People are crafty when it comes to money, stay healthy no matter how old they get. Her evil plan might even be the best rejuvenating agent. Haha. She shouldn't be alive. Huh? What did you just say? Beatrice is dead. I killed her. What did you say? What do you mean, Rosa? But it wasn't really me who killed her. Hey Armand, welcome to the stream. Happy New Year. Thank you so much for coming by. Hey, why are my frogs so tiny? I think I might have to double check my throwing system. We'll do that later. Welcome, Happy New Year. Though I did bring her to a place like that. No, I did kill her after all. I tried to make myself believe it was a dream. But it wasn't really a dream, was it? Which makes this a letter from Beatrice's ghost. Ah! It was so sudden that everyone was lost for words. Rosa kept on talking, unable to stop holding her head as her hair flew all about. Calm yourself, Rosa-san. I have absolutely no clue what's going on here. Already dead? What do you mean? I think it means two things. First, its literal meaning. And second, it backs up our earlier guess. Which means Rosa has met with Beatrice, right? I've never heard Rosa mention anything like this. Rosa, when was it? When could you possibly have met Beatrice? Long ago. Long ago. We just moved over to the island and I was still young. It wasn't my fault. It's not like I killed her. Ah! Calm down. Nobody's blaming you for anything, right? First, drink some water. Okay? Natsui-san, the pitcher, please. Yes. Here you go, Rosa-san. Please calm yourself. Until Rosa was able to calm her ragged breathing, no one was able to speak a word. Beatrice, I've been calling to you for some time now. Did you not hear me? Ugh, were you? My apologies. I was lost in thought. Forgive me. The weather is pleasant. Yes, I can understand how the weather has stolen your heart. Will you have your black tea here? Who am I? I will bring some tea now. Wait here for a while. Forget about the tea. Talk with me. Very well. Kinzo had used the excuse of getting black tea to try and interrupt the conversation for the time being. But his attempt had been very transparent. I sat in a garden chair and beckoned Kinzo to do the same. Kinzo sat down heavily, exaggerating his age. For a while we sat and appreciated the silence. Who am I? Until today, no one has answered this question. For some reason, everyone averts their gaze and evades me. I have known you for a long time. I think of you as my best friend, even as a father. That is why I want so much for you to tell me. You should know who I am. Why are you worried about something like that? You are Beatrice, the master of this mansion. Is that not so? What more could you want to know? I do not know. What's this? Don't you ever understand what it is you want to know? How mysterious. In one's youth, there are times one wants to play in the maze of thought that has no exit. Perhaps that's what your worries are. Kinzo laughed as though it was a trivial matter. However, I couldn't help but feel this behavior was another attempt to force me to stop any further questioning. Huh. So you won't tell me after all. There is nothing to tell. You are Beatrice. Isn't that more than enough? No, that's not it. What I wish to know is not my name. I want to know who I am. Who am I? What am I? How long have I been here, and how long will I have to continue my days here? I really should bring some black tea. Don't you think it a waste of all this fine weather? What's this all about? It looks like it's probably the story of your past, right? Something like that. To think I would go this far back. Looks like you had some pretty deep worries even then, wondering who you were. That is to be expected. At the time, I was unable to understand who I was, or why I was alive. Thanks for the stretch, Psycho Reaper. Well, in puberty, everyone's captured by those philosophical worries at least once, wondering what meaning there is in their life. Doesn't this just prove you had a charming period like that at one point? Hey, Comfy Dreams! Welcome! Thank you so much for following me. Thanks for being a froggy friend. And Happy New Year! I've been in that mansion since the time of my birth. And I lived only inside the mansion. Of course, I went out into the garden, but the area around the mansion was surrounded by a very tall fence. I was unable to leave through it, and I was told severely that I mustn't leave. I could walk freely throughout the mansion and the garden, but outside of that, not once was my desire to take just one step outside of my own accord granted. Yeah, Happy New Year! Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you have a good year ahead of you, and a nice winter holiday. What do you mean by that? Are you trying to say that as far back as you can remember, you were always a bird in a cage? That's what I thought at the time. After all, as soon as I became aware I was living like that, I didn't even think to question it. Who in the world are you? That's it. That is what I also hoped to know. Huh. I'm sure you'll say something like, I wasn't a human, I was a witch, right? No, that's not true. That isn't true. Yet. Or should I say that was once the case. I was constructed by Kinzo, a human built by a human. No, perhaps I should call it a cage made of flesh. What the hell? This is getting weird. You probably won't believe it anyway, but listen first. I was a mighty witch who had lived for 1,000 years. But at one point I was summoned by Kinzo, and by the hidden art I was bound as his prisoner for eternity. Never heard of that before. For what we hear in the Ushirimiya family, you were summoned by grandfather, made something like a devil's contract with him and gave him the gold. Indeed, that is correct. Then I was supposed to vanish until the contract was complete. But, well, popular women have it rough. By some turn of events, Kinzo fell in love with me. Grandfather's nearsightedness must have gotten pretty bad. With astigmatism, too. To fall in love with you, of all things. Huh. Well, to me, there could be nothing more bothersome. However, the power of humans is a frightening thing. He displayed that fearsome power and rooted me to this place. He said I wouldn't be freed until I nodded my head in agreement. Such an overbearing man. Isn't that awesome? Everyone knew grandfather was obsessed with the occult, but who would have guessed he had the power to root down the great witch Beatrice? Huh. Ridiculous. Who believes such a weird story? As I thought, you don't believe it. All I believe is the fact that you lived in this hidden mansion in the middle of the forest. You are the 19th person on Rokujima, right? Indeed. Just as you imagine, this is deep within the forest of Rokujima. A hidden mansion not to be found from the outside world. Its name is Kuadorian, 9 Birds Retreat. Come to think of it, I heard the guest house real name was Torayan, Visitor's Retreat. I see, the naming sense is similar. So you were grandfather's mistress, who lived here in secret. Isn't that right? Mistress isn't the right way to say it. You should probably call it Kinzo's unrequited love. I spoke of it just now, correct? He fell in love with me of his own accord. He then courted me, but I rejected him. Then I was shut up in this hidden mansion. No, that's not quite right. It would be more correct to say I was shut up in this body. I've got no idea what you said at the end there. You will just make fun of it and refuse to listen, right? After all, you say you don't believe in witches or magic. If you have no ears to hear what I tell you, saying it would be the pinnacle of foolishness. I'll decide whether I believe or not. After all, if I don't ask, the story won't continue. Tell me. Let's hear the story from your past. Very well. I refused Kinzo when he courted me, but he was not a man to lose heart at something like that. He wanted to make me nod my head in agreement no matter what. He shut me up in this mansion and spent an eternity trying to win my heart. Hey, Twilight Red Mage, welcome to the stream! Thank Thanks for stopping by. Happy New Year. Talk about overbearing. Guess no one likes obstinate men, right? Regardless of whether I responded to his courting or not, having a man so desperate for me was, well, as a woman, it wasn't so pleasant. However, I never accepted his proposal. I tried to find some way to break through his guard, but that barrier was firm, and I couldn't crack it. And then, after trying to resist in various ways, I eventually reached the conclusion that to escape from Kinzo's barrier, I would have to throw away this body of flesh. The physical body is a vessel, with many restrictions for a magic user. Throw away your body of flesh? What does that mean? Something like an out-of-body experience? Well, if you want to think of it that way, however, I am no spirit. Even though I am a witch, in the beginning I was born with a human's body of flesh. So for me, throwing away that physical body, while it didn't mean the same thing as death, it did require a similar level of resolve. So in other words, you decided you couldn't be released except by suicide. Is that it? It wasn't suicide. It was nothing more than throwing away my body of flesh. Of course, becoming nothing more than a soul is a precarious situation. When the soul leaves its body of flesh, it is constantly exposed to the strong winds of the sun. It was not easy for me to maintain myself and avoid being scattered by them. It was a final measure that I wanted to avoid if I could. However, there was no other way to break through Kinzo's barrier. Anyway, I am an unfettered person. I couldn't stand being kept in a cage until Kinzo's life was over. I couldn't see the stuff Bito kept going on about throwing away her body of flesh, as anything more than suicide. Grandfather persistently courted her, and to escape from that, she chose her own death? So you're saying you committed suicide? What are you talking about? Isn't that you, sitting carefree there in the garden chair? That's right. That is the new cage I was given by Kinzo. Cage? You mean this mansion? No. I mean my body, relaxing in the garden chair over there. Even though I was so desperate to escape that I became naught but a soul, Kinzo still had no intention of letting me go. Oh, he was a fearsome person. Normally, when the object of one's unrequited love shows that she is willing to die, it should be enough to bring that person to their senses, even if their love has lasted 100 years. Perhaps that's why even he managed to become a sorcerer of sorts. Don't try to confuse me with that incomprehensible witch girl talk. What exactly are you trying to say? The Kinzo didn't let me escape even after I became a soul. Human emotions are terrifying. To think he would be able to exhibit such power, tying down a dead soul, is not something that can be accomplished easily, not even for a magician who specializes in such matters. Because I knew this, Kinzo's fearful magical power shocked me for the first time. Then, Kinzo seized my soul and brought me back. However, a cage to hold a seized soul cannot be made from iron or lead. Only one thing remained. What? You aren't gonna say it was a magical cage or something, are you? Wrong. It's that body of flesh over there, just like yours or mine. Only a cage made of flesh and blood can tie a soul down to this world. Kinzo shut my soul up in a cage of flesh built to be exactly like me. So to sum it up, it's like this. Grandfather obstinately courted you, you started to hate it, and you committed suicide. But you weren't clever enough to finish the job. Damn, you really took a roundabout way to say something like that. No, that's wrong. My soul was shut up in the seed of a homunculus, and I was born out of a test tube. Huh? Well, that's crazy. That isn't even possible, right? Kinzo accomplished even the miracle of creating life, and simply to shut my soul up in that cage. That he would show such magical powers simply because of his own love. A thoroughly terrifying person. Oh, it's already gotten pretty ridiculous. Hey Yule, welcome to the stream. Say whatever you want. I won't believe anything. Just do what you like. Ugh. What's with this unpleasant attitude? Huh. In the beginning I showed a little interest, thinking that there might be some huge hint hidden here, but the more I ask, the weirder the story starts to get. I get the feeling that even though this is supposed to be a game about denying witches, I'm suddenly being forced to just swallow this story about witches. Sorry, but I don't feel like listening to this anymore. Just keep rambling on to yourself as much as you want. I'll be over here, picking up my earwax or something. Huh. When I started acting cold, Bito seemed unusually discouraged. Of course, her expression was still shameless, but in that really easy to understand expression of hers, I had the feeling I was able to catch a glimpse of loneliness and my failure to find the story of her past interesting. For some reason, that subtle reaction made her seem pitiful. So even though I kept my careless attitude, I decided to cover for her slightly. Damn it. Even though she's an irritating witch, I'm still weak against her because of her chromosomes or XX. Well, I've got absolutely no desire to believe you, but keep going. Let's have a bit of a story instead of a tea snack. So you treat the story of my past like little more than a snack. Do you expect me to just casually tell you when you insult me like that? After I made fun of her, Bito reacted a little sensitively. It looked like even though making fun of people was her specialty, she was horrible at being made fun of by others. Just then, my black teacup suddenly made a sound surprisingly. Milady's soul was seized and breathed into a cage of new life. In other words, Milady received life as a human once more. Before I realized it, the demon butler had taken my cup and was adding more black tea to it. Ronov, enough of that. This person just said it was too ridiculous to be worth listening to. Well, he's too ridiculous to be worth talking to. I'm baking some new cookies right now. Until they're ready, I thought you might find the story of Milady's past to be a perfect substitute for a snack. Didn't I say that's enough talking about me? Such unpleasant people, the lot of you. I'm leaving. Run off, serve our food, and then go. No pointless chit-chat with Battler. Certainly, I will make an effort. Bito's short temper, peculiar to women, which I didn't really understand, took a hold of her, and she turned her body into gold butterflies, scattered and disappeared. After that, only Ronov and the scent of black tea were left. I feel kinda bad, like I pissed her off or something. As long as you're aware of it yourself, I need say nothing more. Wait a sec. Weren't you the one who struck the finishing blow? My, what could you mean by that? How would you like some sugar and milk? Just milk will be fine, and some tea snacks will be nice too. Well, it'll be a bit longer before the cookies are ready. Didn't you say we've already got something to use in place of a snack? Certainly. If you listen quietly, I will continue the story. She said something about a homunculus. I know a bit about that. Isn't that that thing, right? A manufactured human, created with alchemy or something? Yes. Milady's soul was shut up in a homunculus, and she was revived into this world, receiving life again as a baby. However, because she was a baby, any professions of love on Kinzo's part would have been quite useless. You aren't saying the grandfather shut that baby up in this hidden mansion until it grew to reach the same age she'd been? Correct. That is what I'm saying. However, while her soul was the same, a human spirit is strongly influenced by its container. Milady lost all of her memories of the past and grew up as a very normal human girl. And you're saying that's the Bito sitting in the garden chair? Yes, that is correct. It grew to be completely identical. However, it does not possess her power as a witch. Milady was completely human. Bito, who was sitting in the garden chair, looked up at the sky, and voiced that same question again. She asked who she was. The meaning of those words was finally starting to click. She couldn't understand why she was living here, all locked up. Grandfather had seized Beatrice's soul, shut it up in a body of flesh, and then shut that up in a hidden mansion. However, Since she had lived here since the time of her birth, she couldn't even understand who she was, or why she lived shut up in there. Wait. Who would take such a stupid story seriously? Why don't I change my interpretation? In other words, could it be something like this? Grandfather met Beatrice. He then fell in love with her and courted her, but she didn't accept him. Then he flew into a rage and shut her up in this hidden mansion. Beatrice tried to escape, but no matter what she did, she couldn't succeed. So she finally chose her own death. And then... no. Maybe there was a girl who looked just like Beatrice. No, a baby. Grandfather raised this child with care, but maybe he didn't view this child as his daughter. The soul was once again shut up in a cage of flesh. Those words probably meant he didn't view this kid as her child, but as her reincarnation. Maybe that's what it meant. Hey, Angelus! Welcome to the stream! Happy New Year's Eve! Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for dropping by. If you interpret it that way, even a story this weird might make a little sense. No. This might be some bullshit Bito cooked up to confuse me. As if I could accept any of this. In the first place, Kuwadorian, was it? There's no proof whatsoever that a hidden mansion actually existed. Couldn't this be something she just fabricated on the spot? A hidden mansion called Kuwadorian does exist in the forest of Rokenjima. That is the place we were just talking about. Huh? Red. Rodolph used the red to say that Kuwadorian actually existed. Did that mean the same thing as the red Beetle used? I may not look it, but I am a demon. Please keep this a secret from milady, yes? Sure. Bito, who knew I would try to trip her up, had grown extremely cautious when using red. To think that Ronov could also use the red. However, it was the red of a crafty man. Hey, Risuke, welcome! Thank you so much for the raid. Hey, Chase the Future! Thank you so much for being a Froggy friend. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you so much for entrusting me with your audience. Happy New Year's Eve! Thank you so much. If you guys don't know Risuke, you should go check him out. Not only is he a really cool streamer, a really cool dude, he's also got a really cool model, and he plays Final Fantasy XIV. Just a really awesome person. Please go check out Risuke when you get a chance, please. Oh, Risuke, thank you so much for the sub, too! I really appreciate it. Your ongoing support, I really appreciate it. Please, go check out Risuke right now. Please, join us in following Risuke. Actually, I'll type my shoutout. Did I spell that right? Yes, okay. Please join us in following Risuke if you haven't already. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming by. I'm Kiro, and I'm a frog martial artist, and we are reading Umineko, which is a fantasy murder mystery, and we are currently discussing one of the backstories of one of the characters. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a good evening and a good New Year's. And of course, if you need to take a little rest after your stream, please make sure to do so. Thank you. I didn't know how far I could accept it, but anyway, I might be able to get some kind of hint out of it. So that Bito relaxing in the garden of Kuwadorian and that conversation she had with grandfather were the truth. Yes, it is the truth. In the past, the pair actually had a conversation like that in this place. Thanks a lot. I'll ask for some more red. You said she was born from a homunculus, but does that kind of unscientific, magical thing actually exist? I am unable to answer that question. After all, doing so would cause a stalemate. Stalemate? What does that mean? It's a chess term referring to a state in which, similar to a perpetual check, any further progress in a game becomes impossible. This would be the opposite of an endless repetition of moves, because all moves would disappear, and it would bring about a kind of deadlock. In chess, this would lead to a draw, just as a perpetual check would. However, there could be no draws in the game between you and milady. Therefore, I am unable to answer a question that would bring about a stalemate. Also, I don't think I mentioned this before, but in the Umineko anime, which is again like 25 episodes, or is it 26? Every episode is named after a move in chess. There's a lot of different moves and techniques in chess. You obviously want to confuse me by saying incomprehensible stuff, but simply put, you're trying to dodge the question because you can't use the red to say that something magical, like a homunculus, exists, right? If I were to say in red that a witch exists, what would you do, Battler-sama? Whether or not I believe that is what our whole fight's about, right? If I was told that point blank, it'd be game over. If I said a witch exists in red, you would have no room for an argument. However, since the reason would never have been made clear to you, Battler-sama, you probably wouldn't accept it. However, after being told that in red, you would have no room for an argument, it would not have been shown any proof. In this situation, even though you wouldn't be able to admit defeat, you would have no way to make a counter-argument and it would become a deadlock. Even though checkmate would not have been reached, there would be no existing moves left. Since you would not be able to play your next hand, it would never become Milady's turn, and the game would stop there for all eternity. As a result, Milady would be unable to force you to submit. That would be a deadlock situation. In order to avoid that, I'm unable to answer questions of this nature in red. So to say it quickly, you're saying point-blank questions are prohibited. Well, that's true, I guess. If I were told a witch exists, I'd have to give up from the start. I am pleased that you understand. I believe we might be able to work together if you ask your questions in a different form. Can you help me with that line Beatrice dodged when I told her to repeat it? About the number of people on this island. If Milady held back on repeating it, then of course I cannot respond. As Milady's furniture, I'm unable to be too forward. Rodolph made an exaggerated gesture, trying to act like a loyal retainer. This guy is so shameless. Huh. Just when I thought you might actually be useful. I'll give up on that and search for a different question. That's right. I was forgetting to check something important. This is a story about Bito's memories, right? When did it happen? It couldn't be happening right now, right? Correct. This is the world of 1967. The world of 19 years previous. Huh. Let's try rearranging the story again. I wonder if it could be something like this. Grandfather fell in unrequited love with a person named Beatrice. Then he confined her in this hidden mansion and continued to court her, but she was stubborn and didn't give in. Eventually, she grew pessimistic about being able to escape from here and probably committed suicide. And then, her soul was put in a homunculus and... No. If I accept that, it's the same as accepting the witch. I can interpret that part like this. She probably had a posthumous daughter. Grandfather must have believed that her soul had been placed in a new physical body, and might have thought the child was the reincarnation of Beatrice. That means at least 19 years ago, Bito existed on this island as the 19th person. I'm starting to get confused. Either way, we can't do more than speculate. The only thing we could say for sure in red is that in 1967, in a hidden mansion on Rokonjima, Beatrice existed as a human. That's all. That is correct. In 1967, in a hidden mansion on Rokonjima, Beatrice-sama existed as a human. Well, thank you. That really helps. Congratulations. With this, you have made clear the existence of the piece known as the 19th person. A 19th human for you to blame, just as you longed for. A sacrificial sheep, upon which you can shift the blame of any crime. How amusing that it happens to be Milady. Ronov laughed indiscreetly. I still haven't figured out how to do Ronov's laugh, because I know it's like a poo-coo-coo. I think like in the anime, he goes like, poo-coo-coo-coo. But I can't make it sound like a natural laugh. Not in English, at least. Somehow, I didn't like how he put that, so I didn't feel like laughing along with him. That's right. There's that thing Aunt Rosa said. Beatrice is dead. I killed her. What did that mean? As for that, it might be faster to see the actual circumstances, rather than listen to me tell you. Let us advance the clock a little more. Ronov pulled a stylish pocket watch from his pocket and touched the watch stem. As soon as he did, I saw gold butterflies gather behind his back and take the form of a person. Was it Bito? I quickly realized that it was someone else. It was her. That oldest sister of the 7 stakes, who loved tormenting more than her 3 meals a day. If I don't consider myself lucky to see that sexy ass, I wouldn't be able to keep up with their torture game. Ronov-sama. So you're still here. This is an urgent call from Beatrice-sama. My. What kind of urgent business could it be? It seems my chat with Balor-sama's run a tad long. Well then, Balor-sama, if you'll excuse me, please continue to enjoy your game with Milady. Yeah, I'll enjoy it as best as I can. My conversations go a lot more smoothly when they're with you as opposed to her. You're more gracious with the red too. Come and talk again anytime you like. Balor-sama, despite how I look, I am Milady's furniture. I can do nothing that Milady does not desire. What I said in red was something that normally should have come from Milady's mouth. I did nothing more than announce the red truth in Milady's place as she sulked. So she really was sulking then. Seeing me and Ronov incomprehensibly hitting it off, that stake Nanchan cocked her head curiously. Ronov-sama, we are keeping Beatrice-sama waiting. Let us hurry. Yes, I shall go immediately. Well, Balor-sama, I will see you later. It appears we have finally started getting along. As I thought, I have the feeling we'll manage to become good friends. Sure, you mean partners at gossiping behind Bito's back. Ronov-sama. Yes, if you'll excuse me. Maybe she didn't like seeing him act so friendly with me, or maybe she had been told to hurry. When the stake Nechan let out the thunderous cry, Ronov laughed frivolously and disappeared, as if running away. Huh. Why am I, the oldest sister of the 7 stakes of purgatory, being summoned for menial tasks like this? Even though Bito-sama could have told one of the younger sisters, who look like they got nothing better to do. Sheesh. Why so grumpy, Nechan? If you're hungry, eat a cookie or something. Why don't I give you the last one? How thoughtful. Then shall I take one? I casually pushed the snack plate with the last remaining cookie over to her. Thank you. As though coming as appeared at the end of a sentence, a sharp sound pierced the table. The nails on 3 of her fingers extended, grew sharp, and pierced the space between my fingers on the hand that was pushing the plate, missing them by a hair's breadth. It happened in an instant, so for a while I didn't even realize her fingernails had grown. The tips of those sharp nails were like blades with a red manicure. The spaces between the bases of my fingers hurt sharply. Those razor-like blades had been plunged into the table, a hair's breadth away from the back of my hand and my fingers. Because of those 3 blades, I was unable to even let my careless right hand tremble, and by now all I could do was let out a bead of cold sweat drip down. Whoa. Nanchan, isn't it about time you cut your nails? It's Lucifer. That is my glorious name. The honored furniture who serves Beatrice-sama, and the oldest sister of the 7 stakes of purgatory. The 7 sisters' stakes are each named after one of the 7 deadly sins and the corresponding demon that's associated with them. So Lucifer corresponds to pride, and of course pride being the deadliest of the 7 sins, she's the oldest of the 7 sisters. I'm not like my disgraceful younger sisters. If you don't show proper respect, you will regret it. And why would I regret it exactly? Can't really think of a reason. Stupid kid. Do you really want to play with me that much? Was it that unforgettable? I'll thrust my stake deep into you and let you enjoy being gouged to the fullest, okay? Damn it. Someday I'll have you down on the floor and say the same thing. Oh, jeez, Paddler. Oh, really? Wow, I can't wait. Okay, finally, we're getting back to the story. Rosa eventually regained her calm. The men wanted to hurry her into talking faster, but Kyrie intervened. If something like that really had happened, then it would have been a terrible experience that Rosa wouldn't want to remember. After taking several deep breaths, with her hand over her chest, it seemed she had more or less resolved herself to talk. How old was I then, I wonder? Middle school, probably, though I don't remember it well. Anyway, I think I was about that age. Which means maybe about 20 years ago. Back then, my grades weren't very good, and Mother was always angry at me. I tried to do my best in my own way, but I couldn't match up to Mother's expectations at all. Mother was always very strict with Rosa. I sympathized with her at the time. Huh. You say that even though you were always talking behind her back. Would you give it a rest, Ava? And then, where did you meet Beatrice, Rosa-san? Hideyoshi-san, you mustn't rush her now. It's okay, Rosa-san. Tell us at your own pace. Thank you. It was a day I'd been harshly scolded by Mother. Even though my tutor had promised to keep it a secret, apparently they told Mother all about how I had complained. Mother scolded me brutally, saying my name was a disgrace to the Ushimiya family. Of course, I was doing the best I could, but I had none of Kraus Nisan's dignity. I couldn't get excellent grades like Ava Nisan, and I had no leadership abilities like Rudolph Nisan. I never stood out, didn't particularly excel at anything, and I found myself asking why I'd even been born into the Ushimiya family. I began to question more and more why I'd even been born at all. This is what happened on the day I experienced my mind going blank for the first time. For the first time in my life, I realized that in addition to facing, or surrendering to my problems, I had the third choice of running away. Though I say run away, there was no way I could have left Rokujima and gone somewhere else. But anyway, I wanted to run away from the mansion and my own self at the time. In a way, it was like a kid running away from home, or maybe a passive sort of suicide. I wanted to disappear. Or maybe it was that childlike form of resistance where I tried to make my parents worry by disappearing. I childishly thought that if I went into the center of the forest, escaped from the Ushimiya house, and maybe became lost, that I'd make them worry and teach them a lesson. Then, you went into the forest that you were told never to enter. Yes. After reaching the beach, I followed alongside the ocean. I didn't have any particular reason, but I felt that if I went around the opposite side of the island, there might be a place there that no one knew about, which might become a hidden house just for me. If you go around by the beach, that'd be impossible. It becomes a cliff part way, right? There's no way you could pass that way. Of course. So I kept going wherever I could, which kept taking me deeper and deeper inland. It's a horrible forest without any paths, but that was comforting to me then. If I could make it through such a dangerous forest, then I'd be that much further away from the Ushimiya family. How shameful. If you were scolded because of your grades, all you had to do was work harder. You mustn't say that. Doesn't Rosa have her talent as a designer instead? Literally speaking, he was covering for Rosa, but everyone knew that Rosa's company hadn't been profitable. Quit it. It's no time for sarcasm. So, you managed to end up there by coincidence. At Beatrice's hidden mansion. Rosa nodded weakly. About how far did you walk? Could you show it to us on a map? Natsui-san, do you have a map of this island? No, there isn't one here now. It wouldn't help. I was just walking randomly. Even if you gave me a map, I wouldn't know. And 20 years have passed since then. I probably couldn't reach it again even if I went into the forest. Several people let out dejected sighs. It was vividly clear that in their haste they thought some hint related to the witch's epitaph, or maybe even the gold itself might be resting there. On Rokunjima, only the land around the mansion is ready to be developed on. The rest is completely uncultivated, and it'd probably take a lot of work to survey the entire island. But just knowing that it actually exists is helpful. It would take some money if we enlisted an aerial photography company to investigate, or ask the businessman who constructed this mansion about what happened at the time. We could probably find some way to search for it. That's right. At least we have more options now as opposed to what we weren't sure existed. Indeed. It may be worth investigating right away. The siblings will do that investigation together. We won't leave you on your own, Nissan. It wasn't yet certain that the gold was hidden in that secret mansion, but the sparks seemed to have started flying between Kraus and Ava already. Give it a rest for now, you two. Rosa, please continue. Yes. Blindly, randomly, I kept running, on and on. Suddenly I came across something I thought was an animal trail. I was very tired and had no idea how far I'd walked, so at the time I naturally took the easiest path. As I did, suddenly, right before my eyes, a very, very tall fence appeared. It was a fence wonderfully adorned in a Gothic style. For an instant, I thought I'd gotten turned around and returned to the original mansion. Of course, there were fences around the mansion to stop us from entering the forest. But this fence was decorated differently, and moreover, it was very tall. It probably reached a full 2 stories up. It was covered with ivy and created a mysterious, solemn atmosphere. At the time, I believed in the legend of the witch of the forest, Beatrice. I'd been told that she was frightening. Some of the servants told me she'd sometimes help you if you respected her. Since I had little confidence in those days, I believed the only way I would be saved was by receiving her help. That's why I thought what I did. I believed that this was the fence of the mansion belonging to Beatrice, the witch of the forest. I thought that if I could meet with Beatrice, she'd definitely save me. So I decided to try going in. But the fence was very, very tall and didn't look like I'd be able to go over it. So I chose to walk around it. I thought that if I did, I'd eventually reach a gate. But it wasn't that easy. The fence had an incredible length to match its incredible height, and no matter how far I went in, I didn't reach a corner. It might have encircled a massive area, or maybe I just had that impression because my child's legs made it difficult to walk in the forest. Anyway, I couldn't find a gate for a while, and I started to feel sad as though the witch had rejected me. As I did, I eventually came upon a large tree whose twisted root had bent the fence. It might get my clothes dirty, but if I crawled, it looked like I'd be able to sneak in. And there you found the hidden mansion. I don't know if it was a hidden mansion we've been talking about. Still, at the very least, it wasn't a place we know of. It wasn't as though I came out into a garden as soon as I passed the fence. I had to continue through a lot more uncultivated forest after that. As I did, the forest suddenly opened up, and what appeared there was an unbelievably fantastical scene. To think that on Rokunjima, where I thought only we lived, there could be such a wonderful mansion hidden away. A beautiful flower garden spanned the front of the mansion. It was a flower garden of a completely different design from the rose garden we know so well, and it was very lovely. Of course, the mansion was also wonderful. It was a couple sizes smaller than ours, but it was still elegant and adorable at the same time. Then, I saw her figure. I saw her sitting in a garden chair, positioned to give a view of the flower garden, wearing an elegant dress. It was that black dress embroidered in gold that we later know from the portrait. I hadn't seen an elegant dress like that except in fairy tales and on the stage of musicals. For a person to be wearing it as her normal clothes, that in itself seemed quite fantastical. That mysterious scene was enough to make me lose my sense of reality. If someone had told me that it was a dream, I might have nodded obediently and waited to wake up in my bed. I'd forgotten to hide myself in my shock, so she eventually spotted me. At first, her expression was quite listless. When she noticed me, her eyes opened very wide. It was only natural, considering that a guest she didn't know had suddenly appeared. I lowered my head automatically, planning to greet her and apologize for entering without permission. Who are you? The new gardener? Those were the first words she said to me. I grew slightly calmer, because I realized that we could talk to each other, because I hadn't been turned into a frog just by meeting her eyes, like a terrifying witch in a fairy tale. I mean, being turned into a frog ain't that bad. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have entered the garden without permission. Who are you? Name yourself. I am Ushirimiya Rosa. Ushirimiya? Huh. One of Kinzo's family. Huh? Yes. I'm Kinzo's daughter. Good afternoon. I was a little surprised. After all, father was a great man feared by everyone, and yet she spoke of him without using honorifics. So I was immediately terrified of her. After all, if she could refer to my fearsome father that way, she must be a witch with incredible power. Yeah, she's offending all the frogs in the audience. After staring at me curiously, she beckoned to me to come over. Frightened as I was, I obeyed. After all, I thought she might really turn me into a frog. The closer I got, the stronger that fear became. After all, as I kept saying over and over, that woman and her dress and the flower garden and the mansion, that whole picture was so fantastical and beautiful that it seemed separate from reality. It probably wouldn't have surprised me at all to learn that she really was a witch. And I really was lucky. She hadn't turned me into a frog. As I awkwardly stood there, stock still, she motioned to an open chair and urged me to sit down. Have a seat. Welcoming and speaking to those who visit this garden for the first time is my sole pleasure. Of course, I have no pleasures other than that. As she said this, she let an unhappy smile show for just an instant. Because I was full of a strange mix of tension and excitement, I rudely asked her a question all of a sudden. Are you the witch of the forest? Beatrice? Indeed. I am Beatrice. Yeah, the music in this game is really good. Like, I think the music for all the calm moments, or all the moments where they're just discussing things, is usually not super amazing. Like, a lot of times they choose just not to have music. But when they do play it, it's really impactful, and when we get to, like, the action-y parts, it is really good. I love the action scenes. They're written so well. There is an action scene coming up after this entire escapade, but it'll be a little bit longer. But yeah, I think the music is definitely the selling point of... I mean, other than the story, of course. The story is really good. As I thought, Beatrice actually existed. Did she really look like the portrait? Yes, really just like the portrait. So, she wasn't just a witch from father's imagination. Well, what did you talk with her about? As she prepared some tea, she asked me all kinds of things about myself. First, she was surprised I had come through the forest. It seems she believed that many dangerous wolves lived outside the fence. So I told her I'd come through the forest to reach this place. She was shocked. She asked how I managed to escape from the wolves. Did I give them a biscuit and they let me go? Or did I cover myself in a magic cloak? That kind of thing. Ah, ha ha ha, that sure sounds like a witch. What an interesting person. Quiet, dear. This goes way back, but didn't father threaten us, saying we should never get near the forest because of the wolves that live there? Yes, he did say something of the sort. Ridiculous. Even though Japanese wolves went extinct long ago. Truly a trick to fool children. I don't remember, though. Did Dad really tell us something like that? It was the witch of the forest, right? I don't think I've ever heard about wolves. This was when you were still in elementary school. Don't you remember? Back then, you actually said you thought it'd be cool to be try petting the wolves. Father immediately gave up the wolf story and changed it to the story about the witch. Seriously, what transparent lies they were. At the time, the witch story had a much more immediate effect on you, Rudolph, than the wolves. I remember it well. Don't you remember those nights when you clung to my back? I see. So even Rudolph-san used to be that cute. Shut up. I was just a kid. Well, at any rate, if Father's the one who shut Beatrice up in there, it makes sense he'd use the same story about wolves. To him, the vast forest of Rokujima was a wall that shouldn't be crossed, dividing his two incompatible worlds, the Ushimiya family and his mistress's mansion. Considering the height of that fence, it does sound as though Father turned that whole area, garden and all, into a giant jail cell. Just like a border dividing his two separate worlds. Wolves aside, could there have been some breed of stray dogs there at the time? Perhaps the fence was there to protect against those. There aren't any wolves or stray dogs on Rokujima. That fence was probably a border between us and Beatrice. But if she innocently believed that story about wolves, that's pretty naive. It's nothing like what I expect a witch to do. You're right. I sensed that too. She was very pompous, just like my image of a witch, but she was somehow very childish. She was, how should I put it, too straightforward. She gave me the impression that she didn't know anything about the world. It was as though she'd come from some fairy tale land. She really was a strange person. What happened after that? Did you end up talking about Dad at all? Yes. Once every few days, usually on an arranged day, but sometimes suddenly, Father would casually appear, and they'd drink together, or else take a walk together, or something. She said she happened to be alone on the day I visited. I see. An obvious mistress, you might say. My. I don't know how much younger she was, but good for Father. We can be sure this was no indecent relationship. Idiot. There's no way a lover's meeting between a man and a woman wouldn't have some sensuality. What happened next? What did you talk about after that? I had already introduced myself, so I asked about her. When I did, the atmosphere quickly grew depressing. How should I put it? She seemed to grow listless and lonely. It was that same expression I saw on her face in the beginning. Well, she was his hidden mistress, after all. If she just walked around wherever she liked, Mom might have found her. I'll bet she was practically under house arrest. Even though she had beautiful clothes, a beautiful mansion, and a garden, she must have felt pretty cramped. I'll bet she had it rough. And then... she was definitely worried about something. I remember feeling really sad myself when I realized it wasn't something I could do anything about by talking to her. She seemed to forget I was even there. She gazed vaguely off into the distance and was silent for a long time. I thought I must have said something wrong, but it didn't seem to be the type of atmosphere where I could apologize. So I remained silent too for a long time until she remembered I was there. And then, she muttered unexpectedly. Are there really no wolves beyond the fence? Huh? Yes, that's right. I've never seen wolves, not even in a zoo. What is a zoo? Oh, it's a place where they keep all kinds of animals. They're full of rare animals like elephants and giraffes and pandas. So, there aren't wolves in a zoo? Then, it might not be so scary. Even if there were wolves, all the animals are put in cages, so it's safe. That's why you can safely look at them and learn about them. The mighty witch of the forest was apparently terrified of wolves. I remember, it looked pretty funny to me, at least at the time. How am I any different? Huh? She didn't know about zoos. I explained how fun zoos could be, but it was very difficult for a person like her who had never visited one to understand. On the contrary, as I explained it to her, her expression grew increasingly dismal. She couldn't see the difference. Apparently, even though she lived in an elegant mansion that was surrounded by a high fence and seemed to lack for nothing, she couldn't see how she was different from animals shut up in cages. Who am I? Everyone calls me Beatrice, and that does indeed seem to be the name of a great witch, as you say. But that isn't me. I cannot use any magic. I simply have the soul of that witch sealed inside my body. Huh? There was definitely something odd about her. Beyond just being cut off from the world, it seems she truly believed that magic exists. I think she talked about lots of weird things, but I don't remember the details. All I thought was that this might be a person to be pitied. She was unable to leave this mansion of her own free will, a prisoner without even realizing it. And she didn't know anything about the outside world, didn't even understand who she was. She probably vaguely realized that she was to be pitied, but she didn't know anything, so she seemed incapable of recognizing her own unhappiness. Long ago, when I told Ne-san that I felt sorry for a bird in a cage, she said this: "A bird that only knows the inside of the cage doesn't long for the outside." But this wasn't a bird. She really was a person. Even if she'd never been outside the cage, she understood that there was more to the world. So, I invited her. Do you want to try going outside the fence? There really aren't any wolves. There aren't. You'll definitely be safe. I want to leave, but the gate is always closed. There's a place I came through. It's got a crack you can slip through. If we go through there, will there be a world outside? Yes. There really aren't any wolves? Right, there aren't any. I'd only planned on inviting her to go on a short walk, but she kept looking over her shoulder at the mansion, as though she was seriously worrying over the decision. Then I learned what she was preparing herself for. I have had enough of this place. I want to go outside, and I want to know who I am, what's happening in this world, and why I was born. I didn't know what her life had been before then. It was probably something she couldn't express easily. If it was harsh, she just had to say she wanted to escape. If it was sweet, she just had to say she'd stay. For example, maybe it was like how a hot fireplace on a winter day makes the air get thicker and thicker, giving you a headache. Even though you know you shouldn't keep things the way they are, you're still encouraged to open the window and be tormented by the cold wind. She was starting to realize that she couldn't stay there forever. She was starting to realize that she had to go outside someday. But since she didn't know about the outside world, she must have needed courage to take that unspeakable first step outside. And despite that, she had made her decision. She'd voiced her decision to go outside, a decision she was probably making for the first time in her life. I hesitated for a moment. Father had decided that she should live here. She was like Father's beloved bird in a cage. If I just let her escape, Father might scold me harshly. I want to see. Huh? See what? I want to see a zoo. Ah. I was just a little surprised when she finally gave me a gentle smile. Could that have been a farsightedness brought about by her decision to venture outside her cage? It was a smile so gentle I couldn't imagine that it had come from that once dark face. When I speak with you, I just keep hearing about things I don't know. I don't even know about this thing called school, nor do I know about zoos. I don't know about movie theaters. I don't know about amusement parks. And I feel from the bottom of my heart that I want to know about those things. Will you take me to see them? Huh? Yes. I was nervous about how I could keep a secret from Father, but her face looked so happy, so I went along with her and nodded. But she seemed not to notice the meaning behind my vague smile. She seemed to believe that I'd really take her to all those places. She was pure and genuine. She'd probably never been tricked by anyone. No, maybe it's better to say that she never learned how to doubt. Her smile was somehow radiant and yet pathetic. I want to find a way to grant her modest wish. I have had enough of Beatrice. I want to know who I am. I want to start out as a new human, not Beatrice. So I want you to take me away from here. I don't need tea anymore. I don't need this dress. I won't meet with Kinzo again. Please, take me from here, Rosa. However, that responsibility was one that a child like me couldn't hope to fully bear. Still, when I saw Rosier's gaze, along with that brilliant smile that made it look like though possessing a spirit had left her, I could feel a little courage start to rise up inside me. This was definitely something that would get me into a lot of trouble, and yet it was definitely the right thing to do. I don't know how it'll turn out, but I'll take her away from here. Of course, I won't be able to talk to Father, and not Mother either. Should I talk to Oni-sama or One-sama? No, what about the reliable Genji-san? Or, that's right, what about Kumasawa-san, to whom I can always talk when I'm in trouble? I'm sure they'll be able to do something. Anyway, for now, I'll take her out of here. This was already a place she didn't want to be. So I took her to the crack in the fence and let her outside. She was all nervous, checking to make sure there were no wolves around, but once that fear disappeared, even just walking around this dense forest seemed to be fun somehow. Every time she found something, she'd ask me about it. And they were all really trivial things. What's that flower? What's that leaf? And that sound, and that smell. It really was like the inside of that fence had been her entire world. And now she'd traveled beyond the limits of her world. It's strange. When I first saw her, I really thought she was the witch herself, relaxing inside the witch's mansion. But now it was different. Or actually the complete opposite. She'd left a world she believed to be finite, and was overjoyed at the realization that the world was endless, something she'd never thought of before. So everything she saw was new. It was almost as though she was the one who had been thrown into a fairy tale. If she was Alice, then I felt almost like a rabbit holding a watch. To her, it was probably a really fun walk, filled to the brim with excitement. But I was actually at a loss of what to do. After all, I walked randomly to get there. Of course I didn't know the way back to our mansion. There were no lights in the forest, and I hadn't brought a flashlight. I realized it would be terrible if it got dark while we were still like this, and grew impatient. She was too innocent, and apparently she couldn't understand at all how frightening it would be to face the night inside the forest. But I was the one who brought her outside. I had to take responsibility somehow and resolve the situation. So I had a thought. Let's go out to the ocean for now. If we then follow the beach around, we should eventually make it back to the mansion. However, that was much more of a problem than I'd imagined. I didn't have a map or a compass. There was no way I could walk in a straight line through an uncultivated forest, and I immediately lost my sense of direction. I already had no clue which trail I'd come by, and was completely lost. At this rate, night would definitely fall before I had a clue where to walk. But this was no time to cry. After all, that woman falling behind me was so innocent, and having so much fun. So I definitely had to lead the way through this forest, for the sake of her smile as well. Gritting my teeth so she didn't see me, looking troubled, I pushed my way through the woods, advancing down a path that wasn't a path. Then after going through various troubles, I fortunately managed to reach the ocean. At that time, I still didn't even have a clue where I was on the island. But for the time being, I was just a little reassured, realizing that if I just went around this way, I would surely be able to return to the mansion. However, though I had reached the ocean, we were at the top of a rock cliff. The beach was far below us. I was tired from walking around the forest for so long, so I figured that an open area, even a rocky beach, would be probably much easier to walk in. So I suggested we go down that rocky cliff somehow. It looked pretty dangerous, but I figured there was no other way. However, Beatrice agreed to my plan without any doubts. Even though she was probably older than me, she meekly obeyed, almost as though she was some kind of chick who thought I was her mother. I searched to see if there was some part of the cliff I'd been able to get down. Then I found a place where the cliff had fallen over and made a slope. It looked a little dangerous, but if I went down using both hands and both legs like I was crawling, I thought it'd be okay. Let's go down here. It'll be dangerous if we aren't careful, but if we go down to the beach and walk along it, I don't think we'll have to worry about being lost anymore. Indeed. If that's what you're doing, I'll go too. Even getting lost is fun for me. Quite amusing. She really had no sense of danger. There was probably no doubt she lived a life without discomfort. Even though she knew it would get dark when night fell, she couldn't imagine how dangerous the inside of a forest could be without a light. Furthermore, it seemed she couldn't grasp at all how dangerous it might be if she fell from the cliff. I warned her repeatedly to be careful. I cautiously examined our potential route down. It seemed to be quite a long drop. I think it might have been about 10 meters down. If you looked at it from the bottom up, it would probably look shorter than the roof of the mansion. But looking from the top, it felt almost like staring down from the observation room on Tokyo Tower. But Beatrice still appeared to be completely without fear. It felt as though she had never been taught that high places were dangerous. No, maybe she believed that she was a witch, and that she could fly, so there was no need to worry. Please be careful. We're pretty high up. Indeed. I shall be careful. It looks like we can get to the ocean if we go down. Is there an aquarium there? No, there aren't any aquariums on this island. But there should be a lot of fish in the sea. I see. So there are fish. Are there, whales and dolphins and penguins like you talked about? No, you'd have to go to an aquarium for those. You'd have to leave this island to find an aquarium. Is that so? Well, I'm looking forward to it. What kind of fish are whales? They're really big fish. Huh? Aren't they mammals? And they spit seawater into the air. Hey, Viburium! Thank you so much. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for following me. Welcome, welcome. Huh. And dolphins? They're really smart fish. And, oh, weren't they also mammals? They're really smart and can be taught tricks and stuff. Huh. And what about penguins? Weren't they birds? What's going on? We're talking about aquariums, but none of these things seem to be fish. Well, there aren't just fish, it's full of all kinds of things that live in the ocean. Ha ha. I really am looking forward to that. She let out what might have been a funny, rushed and short cry. It was probably a scream. It came right out of the blue. Her body separated from the cliff and silently fell. I immediately want to say something to her. I want to say, didn't I tell you to be more careful? It was the thought of a child. It was how a child immediately gets mad when something bad happens, trying to find an excuse to show it wasn't their fault. Of course, I said it out loud. Are you okay? Didn't I warn you over and over? So, she fell from the cliff, and then what? What happened to her? Rosa? Rosa fell silent. Her gaze dropped to her feet as though she was seeing something through the floor into some disgusting memory. She died, didn't she? Ava's brutal words were the ones Rosa had wanted most to avoid. When she was hit with them, she screamed in resignation. Yes, she died! It was a rocky beach with lots of sharp, dangerous rocks exposed. Her eyes were still open, and an incredible amount of blood kept pouring out, quickly spreading out until it looked like a red carpet. I spoke to her, shook her, but she refused to respond. Not even a blink. No, she wouldn't even close her eyelids. It was my fault. She was wearing a dress, remember? Even though I knew her outfit was difficult to move in, I said we should go down the cliff. She was incredibly innocent, so she obeyed what I said without any doubts. How long do you plan on remaining dead? Open your eyes already. Darn you, turning into a lump of meat all by yourself while I'm gone. Not just flirting with your ass Nanchan friends. More importantly, what the heck's going on here? Well, as you can see, I missed my footing, fell down, and died. What the hell? Even though you showed up as the 19th person, you were already dead? Don't mess with me, that's impossible. Aunt Rosa was a kid and she was panicked. And it's not like a doctor was there. She probably just mistakenly thought you were dead and you were probably, alive and pretending to be dead or something. Isn't that right? It can't be true. She's got to be alive. Otherwise, how could she be here? The kid-aged Aunt Rosa shook Beatrice's body, crying. I stared into that face too. But her eyes were still open, and it really was a corpse. I wanted to dodge the issue by saying something vague like, she must be playing dead, but no matter how I looked at it, it didn't look fake at all. It really did look like she was dead. Beatrice had fallen upside down from a cliff of that height, and her head had smashed against the pointed tip of those sharp rocks. Yeah, you probably would die after landing on those rocks from that height, but I couldn't accept it. No matter how dead she looked, she had to be alive. Then she went on to become this damn irritating witch that makes all the inconsistencies fit. Grandfather must have kept her confined constantly in a hidden mansion. Then, to take revenge for that, she committed several atrocious murders. Aunt Rosa probably just mistakenly thought she was dead. But she was actually alive, and as soon as Aunt Rosa left, would miraculously breathe again. Then she somehow lived on until today and opened the curtain on her revenge drama. Otherwise, the facts don't fit together. I won't let you trick me so easily. Can you repeat it in red? That she's certainly dead. She has to be alive, right? It's obvious. How does that look alive to you? It's definitely dead. Ugh. My theory that the 19th person was Grandfather's mistress, a human Beatrice, had been defeated. I had planned to strike back from a defensive position, but... Then who are you? You just died, right? Don't tell me you revived yourself with magic. I've already explained that, have I not? The me lying over there definitely possesses my soul. That body's nothing more than a cage of flesh tying me to the physical world. This is how that cage of flesh was broken. Do you understand what that means? I don't have a clue anymore. Keep having fun with your witch girl tricks. I'll listen to that in place of a snack. What the? It's empty. Hey, can I get some more black tea? Ronov, our guest would like some tea. When Bito clapped her hands, Ronov appeared. Butlers sure are convenient. A refill, you say? Certainly. How much shall I pour you? Well, I've got more than enough snacks. Half will be fine. Even so, filling it to the brim is the English custom. Even though just enough to wet my throat would have been fine, he filled it to the top. I turned my back to Bito, sipping it in silence. Hey, open your eyes! Beatrice! Rosa shook me. No, shook the corpse that had once been me. I watched over her from a short distance away. And so I fell from there and died. For a while I believed that was true. I saw Rosa spend a long time beside my corpse, then watched her as she ran away. Eventually I realized I was a different individual from that corpse. That's right. I am me. So I finally managed to escape from Kinzo's bonds. Eventually I felt the memory returning. The fact that I was an endless witch who had lived for 1,000 years. Then I remembered I'd been summoned by Kinzo, and I'd been imprisoned by him for a long time. While being imprisoned in a cage of flesh, I completely lost my memory as a witch. However, thanks to Rosa, if you could say that, thanks to my accidental death, I'd now finally regained myself. Rosa, you probably regret bringing about my death, but I should be thanking you. I couldn't see Rosa anymore. Did she go to call a doctor, or was she so terrified she ran away? It no longer matters. That soulless shell has no longer has any value. And yet, I'm so frail now. Even this glorious midday sun is agony to me. I destroyed my human form. Then I changed into several gold butterflies. Yes, with my magical power as frail as it is now, this form is easier to maintain. To escape even a little from the light of the sun, I rode the wind and gently flew up the side of the cliff. It will probably be a bit cooler in the forest. Anyway, I'll take some time to recuperate and regain my former power, as I ponder how to make Kinzo pay up all that he owes me. Dancing alone through the air, I looked down at the shore one more time. On the rocky shore lay the figure of what had once been me, the figure I would eventually regain. To regain the form of that physical body I had thrown away, it would probably take more than 100, 200 days, and it might require 1,000 days or perhaps even more. However, I am the Endless Witch, the Golden Witch who has lived for 1,000 years. Waiting any countable number of days would be no problem. Oh Kinzo, regrets that you are not here now. No longer will you be able to capture me. And then you changed into gold butterflies, hid in the forest and waited for your magical power to be restored? Is that what you're saying? That is correct. I take this form to sneer at you, but most of the time, it's easier magically for me to keep my form as gold butterflies. Huh. Feel free to take a load off and stick to whatever's easiest. I wouldn't mind not having to hear from your irritating laughter. When I turned into butterflies and slipped into the forest, it was already no longer possible for Kinzo to find me. However, Kinzo was not dismayed. Still, he was not immediately able to prepare a way to catch me. So he first moved to prevent me from leaving this island, and to keep me from regaining my power. My. At any rate, Kinzo's spitefulness was unimaginable. It was pretty tough to be loved by someone like that. He found a way to keep you from leaving after you turned into butterflies? What, did he put a bug net around the entire forest? Indeed, a magical one. Didn't you know? On the sea in front of a harbor is a reef upon which sits a small shrine of Eastern magic. Oh, that. It was gone by this year, though. It was a small shrine built long ago by a Shugenja, right? From the very beginning, Rokenjima has been an island enveloped by distortion. It attracts all kinds of magical power and other related creatures. Milady herself is one of them. How about some more tea? Please. They brought harm to humans and probably left several eerie legends in their wake. That small shrine was built in ancient times by an Eastern magician who heard of them. A long time passed and that power was lost. By repairing it, Kinzo restored this island's barrier and once again bound me to the island. Can Eastern magic work on a Western witch like you? Normally, the affinity would be poor. However, for the purpose of sealing me here, it may have been quite convenient in a way. If it was Western magic, I would have some knowledge. For any barrier, there would be some measures I could have taken. But Eastern magic is outside my area of expertise. It was as if I had been given chopsticks instead of a spoon for some soup that I want to drink. In a space dominated by Eastern magic, Western magic loses much of its power. Hey Lay, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by, and thank you for the raid of frogs. Happy New Year! And for you guys, please go check out Lay. Write that down. Please go check out Lay. Not only is she a really awesome VTuber and gamer and artist, she's just an amazing friend. Please go check her out. Hope you're having a good New Year's Eve. Oh, thank you so much for the gift subs too. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Well, thank you, Lay, for the gift subs for everyone. Please make sure you thank Lay as well if you got a gift sub. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I hope you have a good New Year's too. Welcome. I'm excited to play games with you again. Even if she was given 1,000 days to regain her strength, she would have to wait many, many more. Hey, Atomic Turtle! Welcome to the chat. Thank you so much for coming by. If you're saying it took you 20 years to regain your power, and now you're revived, as we can all see, those were horribly long years. I spent many days in the form of gold butterflies, found Kinzo's mansion and watched over him every day. I lived through those days with no means to enjoy myself except to ponder how I would get back at him. That period of 20 years was fortunate for me. Kinzo tried to use all sorts of magic to find and capture me, but each failed. There's a limit to how many miracles a single human can bring about. Even simply holding me captive for that long had been a miracle far above his place. It would be unthinkable for me to be captured like that multiple times. Grandfather said something in the previous game. It was something like, magic lies in a miracle of probability. Indeed, as Kinzo was searching for a hidden art to capture me again, he stumbled upon that. Then he finally worked out the ceremony involving the offering of 13 people as sacrifices to revive me again. 13 people as sacrifices. That is the witch's epitaph, a song of sacrifices. 6 people on the first twilight, 2 people on the second, and then 5 more people on the 4th through 8 twilights. A forbidden ceremony involving the offering a total of 13 people as sacrifices. Those sacrifices were to be chosen randomly, and the one who held the ceremony, Kinzo himself, was no exception. Dumbass, are you saying that all the gruesome murders on this island were a weird ceremony? I'd have a vague idea that might be the case, but I couldn't just hear it was true from a witch and a demon and say, "Oh really?" and accept it. There are 18 people on Rokenjima. 13 are offered as sacrifices, 5 are left alive. Then I revive. In other words, the odds that Kinzo will be able to meet me again are probably 1 in 3. He bet his own life on those odds, wishing for a reunion with me for the last bit of his remaining life. You're saying he gathered a family for the sake of that joke of a ceremony? Don't fuck with me. Don't say stuff like that, damn it. Hey, Cosita! Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for stopping by. Happy New Year! And, please go check out Cosita. So that's not how you spell your name. When you get a chance. Really cool VTuber, and also an amazing person. Please go check him out. It was all set out in our contract from the beginning. When Kinzo's life ended, all the gold I lent him and all the assets he created would be given to me. Yes, Kinzo did stab me in the back quite brutally, but looking back now, it was a rare and precious time during my 1,000 years of life. After all, boredom is my natural enemy. To Kinzo, who offered me a chance to run away from that for several decades. Yes, you could say I owe him for that. No, Cosita, you're the cool person. Please go check out Cosita. And Happy New Year's Eve again. Thank you so much for dropping by. I decided to go along with Kinzo's game. So, to start, Kinzo returns the Ushimiya family head's ring to me. It was my gold that revived the family, after all. Then 13 people are chosen at random to be sacrifices. While that happens, I'll run about, showing me all kinds of human interactions as you try to oppose me and entertaining me greatly. Yes, I truly have taken a liking to this game of Kinzo's. Ugh. I definitely won't believe in that kind of magic story. Then who are you? You fell off a cliff and died, right? Your soul slipped out, became butterflies, went to the forest? That isn't possible. But you're here. Who are you? Aren't you the 19th person? That is true, I am the 19th person. But it's useless, right? It's all useless. There are no more than 18 humans on this Rokenjima. What did you say? So you're saying that the X in the 18 plus X doesn't exist? Are you saying the piece I took, the X, doesn't exist? That is what this means. My condolences. Still, you do move fast, milady. And I thought you'd let him flounder about before spinning everything around at the end. Well then, Battler-sama, would some more tea be agreeable? I don't need it, damn it. I don't believe it. The culprit can't be one of the 18. Then what are you, and why are you here? If the 19th person doesn't exist, then are you saying you're one of the 18 in disguise? Perhaps you are castling. Though reluctantly, you are doubting one of the 18 people as your last way out. However, it will be difficult for me from here on out. If you choose to stop caring about propriety, you could prepare a culprit freely amid the 18 people. Making you reach checkmate by evading those 18 pieces will be truly difficult. As if I do that, I won't suspect any of the 18. I don't want to suspect people. Have I really been cornered here again? Damn it, damn it, damn it. It looks like we're finally approaching the end in the third round of the game of ours. You've nowhere to run anymore, right? You don't want to suspect any of those beloved people in the 18, do you? Were you trying to hide that from me? Then why do you refuse me? Then say you should play the opening like a book, the middle game like a magician, and the end game like a machine. I'll corner you from here on, slowly, carefully, surely. Or on the other hand, would it be better if I pressed you all at once? Which might suit your style more. Yes, that should fit you well, let's do that. I'm now fully aware of the sorts of attacks you're weakest against. Okay, so the clock has struck midnight, so now we know the first twilight is going to happen. 6 people are going to be murdered, just like in the first and second episodes, but who will it be this time? We know mostly everyone's locations based on what they just showed us. Although they seem to skip over a couple people, like I didn't see Nanjo or Kumasawa, which again, I'm not sure if it's an oversight or a hint. Well then, how will this game be resolved? You may submit, or you may resist. Either way, it will truly be an entertaining banquet worth betting my short remaining life on. In his dimly lit study, occasionally brightened by lightning, Kinzo kept mumbling and laughing to himself. On the antique clock with the intricate design that had been sitting on his desk, 2 overlapping hands tilted to the right and began to slide. The measure of time that counted up to 24 had returned to 0 and begun to count back again. Alright. That took longer than I recall getting to the first murders of this game, but still, shorter than episode 1 and 2 at least. That story of Roses was really long. Measuring time is a brutal thing. It drags itself all the way to 24 over the course of a day, and then returns back to 0. It certainly did count to 23:59. However, is it ever able to reach 24 o'clock? If you conclude that it returns to 0 o'clock again without reaching 24, how futile it must all be. Or perhaps a person's life is the same. You live aiming for a perfect 24, and in the instant you reach it, you return to 0. People will probably praise the departed, saying that he did reach 24, but he most certainly did not. In the end, he's a 0. I am different. I will live and reach 24. That itself is the Golden Land, for that is where Beatrice dwells. Kinzo had been fumbling around with some tarot cards for some time. It looked as though he was trying to divine his own luck with a contest, doing it over each time he didn't like the result. The most forbidden action in tarot card reading is trying to predict the same thing twice. To do so ridicules the results of fortune-telling, and also desecrates those beings higher than humans that give revelations through the tarot cards. However, Kinzo knew tarot cards shouldn't be used twice, because since they're nothing more than random number generator, reading them twice will naturally cause a different result to appear. Therefore, reading them twice was only forbidden to preserve the mystique of the tarot card's results. However, that didn't mean that Kinzo didn't take tarot card reading seriously. Kinzo's interpretation of tarot card reading was done in a completely different way. This was to repeat the reading over and over, without giving up in the slightest until he reached the result most favorable to him. The mark he set for this most favorable result would vary, but when he demanded the most favorable result in a strictly literal sense, it was the same as a simple roulette of luck, where he sought an arithmetic miracle. However, Kinzo used miracles of numbers as the basis of his magical power, so this functioned perfectly well as a magical ritual. In other words, until the result he desired appeared perfectly, he could strive to repeat the tarot card readings over and over, with conviction turning the feelings of his heart into prayers, so that when they reached the heavens they would be sublimated into results. This was Kinzo's personal, magical interpretation. Therefore, even though Kinzo's tarot cards were no different from those generally used, the way in which they were used was completely different. Tonight will not go as I thought. Kinzo stopped his hands for a second. He seemed not to be getting the results he wanted. On the contrary, bad cards that shouldn't show up so often appeared randomly, or repeatedly, and continued to interfere with the miracle Kinzo wished for. Huh. Is that how it is? Kinzo seemed to have received some revelation that was different from normal. But judging by the unlucky cards scattered across his desk, it was difficult to imagine that the omen had been a good one. For a while, Kinzo closed his eyes tightly, pondering something. Then, as the thunder roared, he made up his mind about something, took the telephone receiver, and dialed. It is I. Is Genji there? An urgent matter has come up. Huh. In front of the entrance hall, Shannon's once burning face had been cooled off by the frigid air. She had thought that George's proposal would surely come sooner or later. It wasn't as though she hadn't prepared herself mentally, and she had answered by nodding. Had she been reckless because of her youth? Should she have thought about her future more seriously? I wonder if my immediate reply made him think I'm a cheap girl. If I'd at least waited until tomorrow morning. Would that at least have shown him I was taking this seriously? Now she'd already received the ring from George, Shannon kept fidgeting in embarrassment. I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that. As she did, she heard the sound of footsteps splashing through puddles. Shannon immediately chased away the emotions welling up inside her. Genji-sama? And Kanon-kun too. I'm sorry, I have to go back soon, She grew stiff, thinking she'd surely be scolded for spending too much time in her secret lovers' meeting with George. Shannon, the master told us to come to the study, saying it was urgent. Let us hurry. Huh? Yes, certainly. What in the world? He said he had a premonition of misfortune. How convenient for him, considering he's the one who started this ceremony. We will enter from the back, so that Goda doesn't notice us. Hide your footsteps. Yes. Nesan, take care. You're so noisy. Kanon was especially good at hiding his footsteps. Just like a cat. He was able to suddenly be there without anyone noticing and leave in the same way. For example, even though he stepped in puddles, the sound he made was far smaller than that of the rain hitting them. Genji also had abilities of that kind. Or rather, those servants called furniture were supposed to be like that. Just like how desks and closets go unnoticed by members of the family, those servants also held it as a great virtue to just suddenly be there whenever they were needed. Compared to that, Shannon's footsteps still strongly asserted themselves. She was also trying to hide her footsteps, but compared to Kanon and Genji, well, you could say she was a little bit more boisterous. Eventually, they reached the back door and the three of them entered the mansion. Immediately, they thought they felt something. It was different from a sense of smell, and it seemed to hit the depths of their noses. This hard-to-describe sensation, which you might call a sixth sense, allowed them to perceive something that was different than usual. Genji-sama. Indeed, let us hurry. That sensation made it feel as though a tense something was pressing in around them. Realizing that, the three of them dashed up the stairs, heading for Kinzo's study while still hiding their footsteps. When they dashed up the stairs, that smell of sweet poison, particular to Kinzo's study, reached their noses. What is it, Genji-sama? The barrier is dead. Huh? Ah. After hearing Kanon's words, she looked at the door to the study. A scorpion pattern was engraved on the doorknob, a powerful ward against magic, the final barrier which protected Kinzo himself. It had been broken. Of course, there was no change to the doorknob that the eye could see. However, those who could understand things people couldn't perceive were able to recognize that a dramatic change had occurred. Master? Master? It is Genji. Please open the door. Genji called in this way after knocking several times, but there was no answer from the study. Shannon, guard our backs. Kanon, search inside the room. Yes. Kanon put his ear against the door, searching for a presence inside the study. To protect the backs of the pair watching the door, Shannon faced the other way, ready for the unexpected. The master must be in here, but it's too quiet. Do you mean to say he's safe? No, it's too quiet. Could it be possibly? Master, excuse us about the door. Genji pulled a gold key out of his pocket. It was the only key to the study that existed, other than the one Kinzo held. He stuck it in the keyhole and turned it heavily. At first glance, that seemed to prove that it was a sturdy lock. However, now that the barrier had been destroyed, this door might as well have been left open from the viewpoint of anyone with magical power. The heavy sound just now meant the door had now been opened even for humans. Excuse me. As Genji respectfully bowed his head and Kanon's sense of tension grew tighter, and Shannon trembled, they entered the study. They immediately discovered Kinzo's figure. He was sitting on the reception sofa so that his back faced them. Genji noticed the person sitting across from him and again bowed deeply. Kanon also noticed that person, but he didn't bow his head. He stood in front of Shannon and spread out his arms, blocking the way to her. So without even seeing the person's face, Shannon already had a good idea who it was. So you have come, Beatrice-sama. Genji, is it? You came very quickly. Yes, it is always best when furniture answers to their master's call quickly, unlike this person. So, Ronov-sama has come as well. Genji directed his greeting towards the thin darkness behind and to the right of Beatrice where there shouldn't have been anything. Even Kanon and Shannon would have never imagined that someone was there. However, the darkness responded immediately and praised Genji's eyesight. As usual, you don't disappoint. It has been quite some time. Still, you've grown old, haven't you? Have so many years truly passed you by? My days have been full and satisfying. It appears you have been living quite a full life yourself, Ronov-sama. Yes, thank you. And Shannon, it has been a long time since I last saw you as well. You have grown quite beautiful, and it seems you have grown quite strong. That is fortunate. Thank you very much. Nia-san, who in the world? This will be our first meeting, Kanon-kun. I, Ronov, have been entrusted with the position of Beatrice-sama's head furniture. I am an old friend of Genji-san's, and I'm also furniture, just like you. Although the master I serve is different. The tense color didn't disappear from Kanon's face in the slightest. Depending on the master furniture served, they might be kind or brutal or anything else. If this person claimed to be furniture serving the hated Beatrice, then he must be despicable as well. It seems I'm thoroughly despised. It's as though you hate everything that has anything to do with me. Beatrice openly sneered at Kanon's hate-filled face. Then Kanon finally realized. Beatrice and Kinzo were having a chess game across the reception table, but Kinzo hadn't even quivered. He was holding his head with both hands, his eyes closed tight, and he contemplated his next move. Or was he in anguish? Master? I have told Kinzo two things. There was good news and bad news. The good news is he'll have the good fortune of being reunited with me before the ceremony ends. The bad news is that Kinzo has been selected as the very first sacrifice in the ceremony. There's absolutely nothing I can do about it, because it truly was decided by the fickle roulette. Liar. We know you're just a murderer who kills for fun. Stop it, Kanon-kun. So, Kinzo, isn't it about time you decide to accept your loss? With this, our long contest is at its end, right? At a glance, it was hard to make out the situation on that chaotic chessboard. However, judging by Kinzo's anguish and Beatrice's malicious confidence, it seemed to be over already. It is unavoidable. Perhaps even this could be amusing. It is to me too. Resolving my contest with you may bring a flood of emotions, but has already surpassed love and hate. It was fun. These past few decades certainly weren't boring. Beatrice advanced her queen and made her final move, and that decided it. Checkmate. This is my final tribute to you, without any reservations. Sleep. Kinzo suddenly stood up and laughed like an opera singer facing a full crowd and spreading his arms as though he had succeeded in a century-long plan. That laugh spat crimson. Crimson flames poured out from inside him, spitting even out of his mouth, ears, and nose, and all at once his body was wrapped in hellfire. But Kinzo kept laughing. The more he laughed, the more hellfire spewed from his entire body and began to char him. Those flames became a brilliant light, which dazzlingly shone on the various magic tools throughout the room, making their distorted shadows dance across the walls. Those shadows looked like the dead in hell, watching over Kinzo in ecstasy as he burned. And, for one who had made a contract with the witch, It was an extremely fitting end, in accordance with those terms. After laughing and howling in the roaring flames for some time, Kinzo flopped to the ground as though he was a puppet whose strings had been cut. Those incredible blazing flames disappeared as though he'd been completely burned up, and afterwards nothing remained but a festering and burnt corpse that one could hardly bear to look at. Horrible. Huh. You should talk, as if you didn't think that was a fitting way for him to die. Why have you shown yourself? Do you have some business with us? Stop it, Kanen-kun. You mustn't provoke Beatrice-sama. It would seem you have them absolutely terrified. I imagine I'll never get along with Kanen. Hey, it's not as though I dislike you particularly. Beatrice grinned. Kanen violently averted his gaze, obviously unhappy. His reaction was so different from what he wanted to do that it made the witch and her butler laugh. Kanen, you stand in the presence of Beatrice-sama. Carefully consider your manner of speech. Oh, I care not, Genji. Let him say what he pleases. I am gracious. How are you gracious? I am always gracious to those who are about to die. Kanen was taken aback by that creepy laugh. Beatrice wasn't here just to take Kinzo's life. The first twilight required 6 sacrifices. Kinzo alone wasn't nearly enough. And they just casually walked in here. Fear not, Kanen. It isn't as though you'll be selected as sacrifices just because you came here. After all, you were called here because you'd been selected already. What? Their instincts were good enough to spot her meaning instantly. 6 sacrifices were required for the first twilight. After Kinzo, how many more would you need to add up to 6? In this mansion, the number 5 instantly made them think of the number of servants here. Is that what you desire? Indeed. Thank me, furniture. Tonight, your days of suffering will finally end. You ought to thank me for coming here to tell you this. Certainly, if that is your desire. Genji-sama! Genji had agreed to the witch's heartless announcement with his usual demeanor, without raising an eyebrow. Now that the master is dead, Beatrice-sama is our master. Responding to her demands shall be our final duty. Shannon, Kanen, you have done well serving until today. That hard work is now over. As I expected of you, Genji. As your fellow furniture, I'm proud to have known you. Shannon, do you have any objections? No. I heard that George-sama gave you a ring. Do you still say you have no regrets? Yes. That blessing was more than furniture deserves. Just receiving the ring has already satisfied my feelings. Shannon couldn't take quite as much of a philosophical view as Genji. There probably were regrets left in her heart. She'd probably want to spend a little more warm time with the person she cared for, George. But she released herself from that. She took a single deep breath and a blank expression rose to her face. Very well. It does surprise me a tad to find you've gained such composure, Shannon. It seems you too have taken a philosophical view as furniture. Won't you at least shed some bitter tears for not being able to spend a night with the man you love? What a boring woman. This feeling cannot be understood by the likes of you, Beatrice-sama. If you desire our lives, please accept them. We will solemnly carry out that duty. Very well. Excellently put. Just the type of person Beatrice-sama can't handle. She's been taking such a far-sighted view of things lately. I must have tormented her too much last time. Speaking of which, didn't I do the same to Badler? Huh. Am I still soft? Or is it the way I courted them lacking? In any case, she's just no fun. However, it seems you will still entertain me, right? Kanen. Kanen-kun. Compared to the two who had taken a far-sighted approach, there was a painful anguish on Cannon's face. Cannon was still far too young to accept his demise after being told of it by a suddenly appearing witch. Cannon, I hate boredom more than anything, and the fact that the other two have obediently accepted their deaths isn't amusing at all. So I hope you don't betray my expectations. Are you trying to make me your plaything? Cannon realized that he was being provoked. However, no matter how furiously anger spurred him on, his opponent was a witch. He was furniture. He hadn't had a chance of victory from the beginning. But the witch was expecting that he'd struggle in vain and writhe around, and was even looking forward to it. Just thinking about that was frustrating enough to get his blood boiling. Was disappointing the witch by refusing to resist like the other two the only way he could strike back at her? Eldest of the 7 sisters of purgatory, Lucifer, arise. Lucifer of pride right here. Cannon, it would be far too cruel to force furniture to fight a witch. No matter how much anger spurs you on, you would have no hope in a battle without a chance of success. Of course, such a battle would be boring for me as well. So let it be furniture against furniture. Why not resolve it with a battle between you two? That should be enough to allow you some hope for victory, right? So if you recall from episode 2, Cannon fought one of the goat servants and won, but then he lost to the 7 sisters. So let's see how this goes this time. Things are certainly not in his favor. Forgive me, Beatrice-sama, but how could I be inferior to this good-for-nothing furniture? As if this cutie would have any chance against me. Prove that you can defeat my furniture, the 7 stakes of purgatory. If you manage to win through... Let us see. I will let you select the 5 who will escape becoming one of the 13 sacrifices. I will welcome the 5 you recommend into the Golden Land without any conditions. How about that? Cannon understood that he was being provoked. However, the witch's offer was very tempting. By this point, Cannon couldn't care less about this evil ceremony the witch and the rest were trying to carry out. On the contrary, it was much more important that he remain alive so he could be invited to the Golden Land and have his wish granted by Beatrice there. You cried, saying you'd had enough of being furniture, right? I shall grant your desire. I shall give you that human body you wanted so much you cried yourself to sleep. What do you say? That way you and Jessica could be together, yes? Oh, just perfect. You may recommend that Jessica and yourself be invited to the Golden Land. If you alone finding happiness isn't a satisfying solution for you, then you can add in Shannon and George, the one she loves. If you're worried about duty, then you can also add Genji. Huh. That's 5 people. Isn't that enough, Cannon? With this much of a reward... You won't let me get bored, will you? She's just playing with you. There's no need to listen to her. I don't like it. Are you okay with this, Nea-san? Beatrice couldn't hide her evil smile at those words. I don't like it. I want to be happy. I've had enough of being furniture. I want to become human and have normal love. I want to know that the ocean is blue like you. How young. I'm jealous. That's why I like the young ones. Genji, Shannon, stay back. Cannon, Lucifer, forward. As you command. I don't like it. That way you look down on me. As if Beatrice-sama would be impossible. But with me, at least you have a chance. I really don't like it. That was probably humiliating for Lucifer. But at the same time, she was also happy that she was lucky enough to have this adorable prey all to herself. Come, furniture of the witch. Don't think you can look down on me forever. So, Battler, isn't this a fun show? Damn it. Another weird thing's happening. Like I'd ever believe in a magic battle. Look, don't turn your eyes away, look at it. Look. It's magic, it's furniture, no matter how much you try to deny me and magic. Look. If you've got all this happening right in front of you, it'd be a waste to miss it, don't you think? Look. Just stop thinking. Magic exists. This is all fantasy. Don't close your eyes. Look closely. Look. Damn it. I won't accept witches, I won't accept magic. But if it's being done right in the open like that, what am I supposed to say? Damn it. Come now. Don't turn away, look closely, okay? Magic exists. This is fantasy, so stop playing detective. I know your secret. You actually don't really like to think things through, right? Then just stop. Look, it's gotta be fantasy. Shut up. Don't talk to me. This guy's getting stubborn. Won't you apologize and crawl on the ground right now for being so conceited? You thought you could beat me? If you did, I wouldn't mind forgiving you, okay? Then you wouldn't have to have your skin ripped off while you're still alive. Or get lashed all over your body as you squirm until you die. You're a cutie, so apologize. If you do, I'll finish you off so gently while it feels great. Be silent, furniture of the witch. I have no intention of speaking with you. So you're saying you think nothing of me? That disrespectful gaze of yours is really ticking me off. Canon-kun. Isn't he stronger than he was against Satan? This is why humans are so frightening. In fact, sometimes they even become witches and treat demons as butlers. So, which should I cheer on? Are you saying this guy's on par with me? Don't look down on me. As long as you have that pride, you'll never defeat me. Yep. You speak of Lucifer, the eldest of the 7 sisters of purgatory, and say I cannot win? How conceited. What? Canon was desperately trying to stay alive, and he had a strong desire to become human. But Lucifer didn't feel anything stronger than a slight desire to play. So that led to an inevitable result. It was a result that could be reached by the power of humans. The power of the heart. That's as far as you go. You cannot win against me. The glowing red curve extended straight out of Canon's arm, pointing at Lucifer's throat, just beneath the tip of her chin. What is this? How could I? There must be some mistake. As she ground her teeth in irritation, she tried to deny the truth right before her eyes. But no matter how much she believed in her own superiority, it didn't change the facts right in front of her. Huh. Well done, Canon. Wonderful, you haven't bored me. How pitiful my furniture is compared to that. Lucifer, you are boring milady. Was this opponent really too much for you to handle? I'm disappointed, eldest of the 7 stakes. It would have seemed like a mere rebuke to an outsider. However, furniture serving the witch knew what kind of severe treatment was promised by that rebuke, and understood what had been left unsaid. Ah! You good-for-nothing furniture! She howled. Abandoning her last bit of pride, she made her body explode, exposing her true form. That form was a demon stake which bounced off the walls surrounding the room. How could you shame me so much? Kill, 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 kill. You blockhead. Even though you can't even follow my movements anymore, I won't play any around anymore. I'm seriously mad. I'll pierce your heart in one blow. I'll plow right through you, make a fountain of bright red blood reach the ceiling. Die. Canon-kun. After flying about wildly for some time with a speed approaching the limits of what a human eye could follow, Lucifer flew at Cannon's heart. She could tell that it was Cannon's blood by the sweet taste of it, but she quickly noticed one thing. She hadn't pierced his heart. Huh. This is why humans are frightening. Would you like some black tea? I am fine for now. This is so amusing, I don't think I need any. Cannon-kun. You were arrogant again. I told you that you wouldn't be able to defeat me. The floor was stained with dripping blood. It really was Cannon's blood. But it wasn't flowing out of his chest. Cannon had sacrificed his own left hand to protect his heart. Lucifer was arrogant. Even though she'd been given enough time to realize that this was an opponent capable of cornering her, in her pride she had believed him to be worthless. She had gotten careless. So just as she announced, she had aimed for his chest, trying to pierce his heart. Because she was arrogant, she hadn't even thought of aiming for somewhere other than a place she had announced. No, maybe she had thought about it a little. However, her pride would not allow her to aim for a different spot. After all, she was Lucifer of Pride. Cannon, withstanding the pain, grasped the demon stake sticking deep into his left hand strongly with his right hand, and pulled it out. When she heard the sound of breaking bones and even more blood dripping down, Shannon looked away reflexively. There was an air hole in the back of the pierced hand so big you could clearly see through to the other side. Cannon's face was filled with pain, but right now, he had won without a doubt. The demon stake he was gripping with his left hand, or right hand, turned back into Lucifer again, so the cannon was now gripping exactly where her neck was. It's my victory, Beatrice. Cannon didn't hold back at all with the hand gripping Lucifer's throat. She had challenged him again after their fight had already been decided. Cannon had no obligation to be considerate. But even so, Cannon released the witch's furniture. Was it his naive humanism, his pity for another furniture, or a final bit of respect to the witch? In any case, when she was released, Lucifer fell face down on the ground, retching and moaning over the pain in her throat. Spectacular, Cannon. Your great efforts have proved the correctness of some of Kinzo's research. Rodolph was clapping his hands. To Cannon, who had won at great cost and had a wound on his left hand that wouldn't close, Rodolph's applause only felt like mockery. All possibilities dwell within the human heart, was it? My, this is why humans are frightening. Well done, Cannon. You were victorious. Spectacular. Huh. Are you okay, Cannon-kun? Oh, sorry, that was Shannon. I shouldn't have said that so sarcastically. Are you okay, Cannon-kun? Shannon ran up to him and wrapped a handkerchief around his left hand, which was still spraying blood. That was incredible, Cannon. Truly incredible. Even I was hoping, at least a little, for an upset. That you didn't let me down makes you truly splendid furniture. I think better of you now. I honestly think better of you. You haven't forgotten our promise, right, Beatrice? Indeed. Of course I haven't forgotten. Witches and demons may be inhumane. However, we are much more noble than humans when it comes to keeping promises. I will not go back on my word. I guarantee that if you won, I would give you the right to decide the 5 people who will escape becoming the 13 sacrifices. Beatrice-sama, it's not like I've... When Beatrice waved her pipe, heaven and earth turned over just for Lucifer. So, as a horribly natural result, she fell onto the ceiling. The ceiling doesn't seem that high to people standing on the floor. However, people who fall on it upside down and head first usually don't agree. Milady, isn't that a little much? Perhaps you are right. I suppose I'll forgive her. Beatrice waved her pipe again. When she did, the magic that had been affecting Lucifer was released. So as a horribly natural result, this time she fell properly, back on the floor. Beatrice-sama, forgive me. What are you so afraid of? I've already forgiven you, haven't I? So, Canon, shall we continue? Continue what? You aren't saying you want me to finish her, are you? No. It isn't over yet, right? What isn't? Stop dodging the question. I did promise to you your reward, didn't I? If you could defeat my furniture. The 7 stakes of purgatory, right? Come, arise! The 7 stakes of purgatory, the 6 younger sisters of the worthless elder sister. The air split with shrill laughter, and as a golden splash scattered about, the remaining 6 sisters of purgatory showed themselves. All the 7 sisters of purgatory were here, after Canon was able to defeat only one by sacrificing his left arm. By now, Canon regretted his thoughtlessness in accepting the witch's challenge. He had been foolish to assume that a game against a witch would be on even footing. Lame. One-sama, why are you crawling on the floor? You people. Ugh. I told you, One-sama's useless. Even though she acts like she's so great, just because she's the oldest, that's only on the outside. Yes, seriously, Lucifer One-sama, your disgraceful behavior will damage the reputation of us all. Know your shame. You're novice. Ugh. Canon-kun, that was totally awesome. But don't get cocky, okay? Lucifer One-sama brags all the time, but she's no big deal compared to the rest of us sisters. That's why I'm always saying Lucifer One-san shouldn't do anything. Just let her keep bragging all the time. After all, those of us with talent can handle all the tough jobs. What are you gonna do, One-sama? Out of respect for your pride, we were planning to stay out of your way, in the hopes you'd challenge him again in that beat-up body of yours. Your Canon-kun sure is strong, right? Right now, no matter how much you struggle, there's no way you could win, right? You people. My, you sisters are always so lively. Is this any time to fight amongst yourselves? It's only together that you're the 7 stakes of purgatory, correct? Now play nice and execute the tasks I give you. And swiftly, okay? Heh, Lucifer One-sama, if you want to borrow the power of your little sisters, then say it, okay? We want to hear you ask us for help with your own mouth. Do you plan to mock me even more? I, the foolish, weak, ugly, and shameful Lucifer, the eldest sister, begged my younger sisters to save me. Come on, let's hear it. If you let us hear that, we'll save you. Okay, everyone? You bitch. The 7 sisters of purgatory unanimously closed in on their worthless sister, abusing her. Even Canon, who had been fighting for his life until a second ago and couldn't bear to look at it. As if I could say something like that. Quickly now, clearly, we will make any progress here with you alone. Hurry up, let the 7 sisters strike Canon. My, what is the matter, Lucifer? This is an order from Milady, is it not? How cruel. After grinding her teeth over and over after hearing her sister's curses, Lucifer trembled all over and answered her sister's request. I, the foolish, weak, ugly, and shameful, Lucifer, the eldest sister, beg, The girl known as Pride was finally unable to endure the words she was saying and broke down crying. However, the 6 younger sisters kept giggling cold-heartedly. Wait a sec, don't try to trick us by crying. You haven't finished saying it. That should be enough. Come, sisters, let us display our power. I won't be satisfied till I hear the whole thing, okay? Come on, One-sama, keep going. That's enough. Come on, the shame affects us all. We won't let them leave here alive. Okay, how should we play with this pitiful furniture? Any wonderful plans? Yes. BLs thinks the seven of us should get along and split canon up between us. Good idea. That way all of the sisters can get along. Then I'll take the head. I'll leave the limbs and guts to you all. No. I get the head. There's no way that promise will mean anything, right? First one there wins. Canon-kun, if you got any ideas for how we should kill you, just tell us, okay? The seven sisters will kill you in an awesome way. Damn. You shame me so deeply. Slicing you into 8 pieces won't be enough. I'll slice you into 100 pieces. Here we go, everyone. Yes, One-sama. The 7 of them burst at once. They had no intention of playing or boasting. This time they would genuinely follow their master's order. Take Cannon down, swiftly. The 7 sisters jumped around the room faster than the eye could see, examining how they could best kill Cannon. They tortured Cannon with their cruel giggles, sometimes making a close pass at him. They kept scraping his arms, shoulders, and cheeks, gradually carving red letters into his body. At that moment, Shannon dashed up behind him, holding onto him so that she blocked the way to his body at least a little. At the same time, a red cylinder wrapped around the two of them like a beam of light sent from heaven. That cylinder repelled the evil ones who tormented Cannon. What? You're mean. Oh, you're mean. This has nothing to do with you. I see. You must want to play with us. Yeah, then I'll take it. All mine. Beatrice-sama, can we take Shannon as our prey? I don't mind. Do as you like. It seems Cannon alone won't be enough to satisfy your gluttony. You have our deepest gratitude. Come on, I'll make you regret coming out uninvited. I'll turn you into scraps of meat, so unrecognizable you won't be able to tell which is which. Mix you and mince you into hamburgers. Idiot, breaking that barrier should come first, right? Don't let your gluttony get in the way of your job. Yes, One-sama. As a horribly natural first action, the 7 sisters began to destroy the barrier Shannon had created. Shannon's barrier certainly was strong. It was powerful enough to press even Beatrice. With its strength, frail furniture would turn to dust just by touching it. And it was firm, like a tree with deep roots. But no matter how big a tree gets, it'll eventually surrender to a saw or a hatchet. For the 7 sisters, chopping down Shannon's barrier would be annoying, but not impossible. A sound like beetles jumping about grew even fiercer and filled the room. The red barrier began to be cut up and eroded away, as though with a hatchet, a saw, no, a chainsaw by now. How foolish. Even though you must know that your barrier can't fully protect you from these girls. Why? Because I couldn't overlook it. As Shannon covered Cannon, who was already at his limits, sprawled on the floor, she spoke back resolutely. If you hadn't barged in uninvited, I would have given you a death-like sleep. Why have you gone to all the trouble of exposing yourself before the 7 sisters? Not all deaths are the same. A cruel death will cause you far more anguish than merely dying. Go ahead, do as you like. Just as you always do what you want, I did what I wanted. At any rate, you're not quite amusing at the present moment. Romance is the most interesting when you're wondering whether it will succeed or not. Once it does succeed, a woman is like salmon who has finished laying its eggs. I've already tired of you. Thank you. No words from which would make me happier. Then at least in the end, let me see you die in a truly entertaining manner. Seven Sisters, can you hear me? Kill Shannon in a way that shows me the limits of brutality. Shannon. My apologies. In the end, I wasn't able to reach your level, Genji-sama. You're an idiot, Nesan. If you just let me be, then you might not have to meet a horrible end. No, it's fine. I received a ring from George-sama, and lived as a woman. I have protected you and lived as a sister. With this, my life is complete, with no regrets. Ugh, you're pissing me off. That philosophical take really is irritating. Like I said, you're furniture. You even smell like a human. Look at me. I am human. Don't spout off philosophical crap like you're more complete than I am, you furniture. How ugly. Are those regrets what you truly are? They aren't regrets. This is called living. What's this about not minding if you die just because you were given a ring? I can't understand it. It's incomprehensible, disappointing, outrageous, stunning. It's all useless. Milady, perhaps you're acting a tad undignified. Shut up, furniture. Shannon, do you think I'll let you die so easily? Now's the time to bite your tongue. How pitiful. If you could see yourself reflected in my eyes, then shudder at your own ugliness. Fear not. Once I've crushed you up, you'll be much more ugly even while you still live. At that time, Genji softly entered the red barrier. Perhaps that barrier didn't block those without ill intent. Then, Genji gently held her from behind and covered her eyes with his right hand. Genji-sama, you've already done enough. Go to sleep before me. Yes, thank you very much, Genji-sama. Indeed. At that, Genji softly pressed his left hand near her collarbone. As he did, emanating from that area, a crimson stain gently spread out. When Genji removed his hand, bright red, fresh blood oozed out of there. It only happened for the first instant, and it was shaped like a crimson rose. When he removed his right hand covering her face, there was a peaceful expression there, as though she was sleeping. Then she fell softly, silently, and slept. Her soul had already been sent to a world where the malicious witch and her furniture could not reach her, no matter how evilly they tortured her. This scene left Beatrice and the Seven Sisters stunned. Only Ronov wore a mysterious smile. Hey, Euro, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Happy New Year's. Then Genji leaned over Kanon, who was crouching on the floor. You did well. You should sleep now too. Yes. Thank you very much, Genji-sama. Just as he had done with Kanon, he softly covered Kanon's eyes with his right hand, and then gently pressed the area around Kanon's collarbone with his other hand. And when his hand was removed with the lightness of a feather, there was a crimson rose there. That rose shape quickly turned into the stain of bright red blood pouring out. What is that? What a boring person. Even though it's so fun to poke the balloon of life with a needle so it forcefully explodes. Spectacular, Genji. You truly are furniture. Thank you very much. Well then, Beatrice-sama, Ronov-sama, with this as my final task, allow me to rest. Damn you, snatching away my fun. Why don't I take it all, the thrashing and mashing I want to do to them, and give it to you instead? Beatrice faced him with an unsatisfied expression, but Ronov spoke quietly to Genji with a soothing smile. You have worked hard. You are my greatest servant. As a final gift, I shall bestow upon you a peaceful sleep, fitting for all the labors you have performed. What? Wait, it's not your place to. When Ronov snapped his fingers, Genji slumped to the floor like a puppet with its strings cut. Suddenly, and yet gently, he crumpled, falling into a sleep that no witch could call him back from. It was as filled with kindness as the sleep he had given Shannon and Canon. What was that, Ronov? What a boring anticlimax. Are you not a mighty great witch, milady? What happened here is hardly worthy of your concern. It isn't like you to let the provocation of someone like Shannon get to you. Huh. What was it that had Beatrice so irritated? Was she still unable to remove the thorn of Shannon's words? Ronov laughed lightly as though lamenting the complexity of humanity in a woman's heart, and ordered the seven sisters to go. After all, there were still 2 sacrifices left for the first twilight. The seven sisters disappeared in ecstasy. Goda was doing the nighttime rounds. Rokonjima had always been empty except for the Ushimiya family household, so checking that the doors and the windows were all closed had no real purpose. However, ever since the time Natsui had condemned such an attitude as being careless, the nighttime rounds had become part of the servants' daily routine. In the first place, Natsui had ordered this because of the occasional witch disturbances. Everyone who came and left this island knew about the legend of Beatrice, the Witch of the Forest. It had become established as this island's characteristic ghost story. Because of that, it was only natural that some people would claim that when they thought they were alone in the mansion, they would hear a strange sound or see the shadow of a person. However, when that created a little too much of a disturbance and reached Natsui's ears, she made a fuss, thinking that some suspicious person might have been entering and leaving. Apparently, she had roused all the servants and had them check throughout the mansion. Because all of that panic over the witch had happened before Goda's arrival, he had only heard about it from the more senior servants. Ghost stories like that could be found in any workplace. Even at the hotels and restaurants Goda had worked at, there had been plenty of them. Hey Leanne, welcome to the stream. Or Chameleon. I like your name. Happy New Year's Eve, welcome. So when he heard about that story on the island, he'd given a forced smile, thinking, ah, so they have that kind of thing here after all. That forced smile aside, he had figured that, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, and had taken it seriously. Goda went along with it on the outside, but in his heart he'd assumed it was a childish trick. At first, that is. This certainly is eerie. Yes, I can see why it was so easy for past servants to get into a panic. You can understand how someone doing the rounds on an eerie night like this might believe they'd seen a ghost, if they saw a lace curtain waving in the breeze from a window that hadn't been closed. So if you make fun of the Witch of the Portrait, there is a curse. It seems there was even a servant who received a serious injury and quit. Well, I wouldn't want that. Think of my age. I probably wouldn't be granted a workplace this hospitable again. Witch of the Portrait, I'm working sincerely, so please give me some peace. Goda prayed to the portrait, his hands together as though he was at a Shinto shrine. At that time, he thought he heard a sound. The kitchen? Was that the sound of something metal falling on the floor? Maybe a mouse or a cockroach had come out and knocked over some of the dishes. No, how could that be? It was usually cleaned thoroughly. Thinking he'd check out what the noise had really been, Goda entered the kitchen. He turned on the kitchen light. When he did, he heard a strange sound. Clank, 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 clank. To a cook like Goda, the sound felt like a lid on a pressure cooker or something shaking. Surely, there would be a pot on the burner when no one was in the kitchen. Even if someone was using the gas, walking away from it would be quite dangerous. Just in case, Goda decided to inspect the area around the gas range. What is this? When he did, in the corner with the gas range, The pressure cooker really had been set out just like he thought, but the flame wasn't on, and yet the lid was clanking. Was something fermenting and leaking gas? How could that be? Then there was a mouse or something inside. How could that be? Ridiculous. When people were watching, Goda acted as though he had a bold personality fitting for his build, but he actually had an unexpectedly timid side to him. He was frightened that there might be something inside, and he couldn't bring himself to check it carelessly. In his cowardice, he grabbed a nearby wooden pestle, and with a clunk, he tapped it a little forcefully against the side of the pressure cooker. When he did, the clanking sound suddenly stopped. He should have been relieved that it had stopped, but the fact that it had stopped when he hit it was even more eerie, and made him even more suspicious about what was inside. Ugh. Mysterious phenomena do not exist in this world. Yes, witches and magic, things like that couldn't possibly exist. All phenomena can be explained with science, as if monsters and witches could exist. He repeated that many times, trying to build up his own confidence. The gap between what he was saying and what he was doing was quite comical. Who would believe in a witch? Who would believe in magic or curses? Come on. Show me what you really are. Take that! He removed the lid of the pressure cooker, and lying exposed there was the sparkling clean silver bottom of the pot. It was absolutely nothing frightening like he'd imagined. Ooh. It's only natural. There's no way there could have been anything inside. By now, Goda realized that he had been a coward. So while he still had some doubts as to what caused the lid to make that sound, he figured it wasn't a big problem and decided not to worry about it too much. Then he took the lid he'd grabbed and softly set it back down where it had been. It's fine. It won't make a sound. Of course it won't. As if witches or magic could exist. Clank. Clank. Clank, clank, clank. Huh? Clank. Clank. Clank, 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 clank. Ugh. All the pots and dishes in the kitchen started clanking at once. It grew even stronger so that finally the lid to one of the pots fell off. And from the inside of that pot, a slender white arm reached out. Lids fell off the other pots one after another and another and another. As if witches could exist, as if I'd believe it. When the number of arms grew to 7, a loud, shrill laughter split the air. What a letdown. Too bad that someone who can make such a delicious food is such a lightweight. If you don't want him, I'll take him. He's all mine. Wait, I said no. I'll take him. Huh? What? What? Ah! Come on, let's search. There's only one more. That old hag. Where is she? She isn't in the mansion. What about the guest house? First one wins, right? Come on, search, search, find her. Don't be noticed by the relatives in the dining hall, right? And don't get noticed by the kids in the guest house, right? Search in silence, kill in silence. After all, it's still just the first twilight. She isn't in the guest house, but she wasn't in the mansion either, right? Hey, I found her. She's in the rose garden. Why's she standing around like there without an umbrella? She's already given up. All mine. You blockheads can just sit there and watch. I told you, no, this one's mine. Come on, if we take any longer, we'll be scolded by Beatrice-sama. Let's take care of it all at once. There, found her, surrounded her. Come on, let's get along and do it all at once, okay? Die. Huh? What? What is this? What naughty girls. You wouldn't happen to be friends of that child, would you? Just what is this old hag? There's got to be some mistake. One more time. Why can she defend herself against us? Move aside. One more time. No matter how often you try, it won't work. This person is good. I am waiting for that child. Would you mind calling for her? Do you really expect us to run errands for you like that? There's no need. Beatrice-sama. After all, even I have manifested by now. I was certain that you had awakened. Ronov, it's been a long time. Yes, truly, a long time. This person's talking to Ronov-sama without using sama. And it's been a long time since I've seen you too, Beatrice. She's not even using sama for Beatrice-sama. Enough. Don't you know who this is? The name Beatrice itself is hers. I only inherited it from her. This is my teacher, the previous Lady Beatrice. The previous Lady Beatrice? Gold butterflies appeared in ones and twos from the Garden of Roses and began to gather around Kumasawa. Then, after she was wrapped in a golden sparkle, she burst and disappeared, and Kumasawa's form was no longer there. Instead, there was another golden witch, the one who once taught the path of the endless witch to Beatrice, and the only person Beatrice ever called teacher. So if you weren't here for this, we briefly saw a glimpse of her in the prologue of this episode. Her hair was long, beautiful, and vividly youthful, and her figure in that elegant dress couldn't possibly have been mistaken for an old lady. No, this looked like a completely different person from Kumasawa. Well, well, teacher. I never even dreamed that we would meet each other again. Yes, neither did I. I certainly never dreamed that my sleep would be disturbed. Such a troublesome time for you to awaken. If you'd remained asleep as usual, the first twilight could have ended without much trouble. Or perhaps I should be glad you're here. I was just getting a tad bored. As usual, it seems you're toying with sinless people in a vulgar game. I believe I taught you several times that the power of the Endless Witch mustn't be used to cause people trouble. Don't say that, teacher. Isn't boredom our natural enemy? This is just a little spice to escape from that. The more corrosion advances, the stronger my power becomes, and the easier it becomes to summon my minions. But who would have thought it would release a seal on you, teacher, at the same time? It's precisely because I predicted such a thing would happen, that I slept so very close to where you were, though I prayed in my sleep that I would not be woken again. Being reunited with you like this is a very sad thing for me. You're as cunning as always, teacher. Ronov, have that young furniture step back. Furniture only serves its master. The master is responsible for all her crimes. Certainly, Madam Beatrice. I've already passed that name on to this child. Come now, step back. Furniture girls, I may give warnings a second time if you do not listen to the first. However, do not expect to receive a third. Step back, seven sisters of purgatory. If you get dragged into this, only dust will remain. Back, everyone. Ronov and the seven sisters of purgatory retreated. After that, what remained was Beatrice, whose daring expression didn't falter, and the teacher, Beatrice, who had given up that name and wore a composed smile. Well then, teacher, what tea shall I prepare for our long-awaited reunion? Armand, thank you so much for the stretch redeem. That was a very good idea. Make sure to stretch at home too. Sit up straight in your seat. Thank you, thank you. Let's see. This reunion was longer in coming than the visit of a comet. Perhaps I will accept your hospitality. And if it seems a mistake has been made, I'll have you return my name, the title of Endless Witch. So even the title of Endless Witch has a license renewal policy. As you wish, teacher. See how splendid your disciple has become, and see how far she surpassed you so long ago. The air between the two Beatrices seemed to explode with sparks. Just by glaring at each other, they purged all spirits from that space. As they watched, the seven sisters shivered. After all, if they had just retreated just 3 steps less than they had, they would already have been turned to dust by now. So come, Beatrice. Surrendering my name to you is the only regret I have in life. I will now correct that error by my own hands. Tisk, tisk, tisk. You've got it all wrong, teacher. My only error was becoming your disciple, in the hopes of gaining such a puny level of power. Get it? What are you calling magic? What are you calling the Endless Witch? All you've got is a power that can be gained just by noticing, right? And you act as though that's so great and impressive. Your turn's long over, teacher. I love this music track. It's called Fake Red Shoes, and I think it's a reference to Wizard of Oz. I don't have a clue what's going on anymore. What in the world is happening right in front of my eyes? You poor thing. It seems my disciple is causing you trouble. I apologize. Who the heck are you? Why did old Kumasawa turn into a Nanchan like this? I mean, seriously, who are you? I don't get it. What kind of special effects are these? My head feels like it's gonna explode. I am the witch teacher of that child. My old name was Beatrice. When that child succeeded me, I gave up that name, so I have no name of my own. Like you've already said, your disciple's been a real pain to me. Please take responsibility and do something. No, wait. I don't believe in stuff like this. As if witches and magic could exist. I won't accept this messed up battle. Damn it, what should I believe? Ho ho ho, that's just like you. Hospitality with a very quick temper. I'd expect nothing less from you, teacher. It seems it's so trivial to you, you don't even feel like opening your eyes. But I doubt you'll be able to win unless you're prepared to wreck this whole island, see? Come, arise, shoulder war towers. In response to Beatrice's summons, a terrific earth tremor split the rose garden, and on either side of her shoulders 2 massive war towers sprouted and stabbed into the heavens. They stretched up to 100 marut tall and each had over 360 ports. They were war towers of the gods' army corps, which had prevented even groups of ancient heroes from invading their sacred grounds. As Beatrice elegantly floated in the gap between the 2 massive 2-headed towers, she looked down on her teacher, sneering with a sense of absolute superiority. With the two massive towers lined up behind her shoulders, the witch looked very small, like a butterfly dancing between huge trees. Don't think you can dodge it by turning into butterflies, okay? The density of the Twin Towers barrage wouldn't just make you a pinned bug sample, it'd make you a madly stabbed pincushion, right? Over 720 ports opened on the towers, and godly soldiers readied their multi-shot ballistas. Is that the end of your turn? Huh, famous last words. Blast away. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, that was so blinding. The ballista shots that numbered over 1,000 were all fired at once, drawing a beautiful geometric curtain of death. The boorish sound as the bowstrings were played were probably even deeper than that of a reaper swinging its sickle. Come, arise, fallen tower. Split the single language and let that sin be known. The sky was stained an incandescent red, and from between the clouds, a blazing massive tower fell upside down. That massive falling tower and its rubble sucked in the thousands of ballista shots, so that not one of them approached the body of the witch who had summoned it. That's right, no group of people, no matter how large, could approach the mysteries of heaven. That was the reality of the fallen tower. As I'd expect from you, teacher. If you do something, you always do it big. My turn isn't over yet. Come, arise, sons of Vivaldi. Bestow upon me a worthy spear. As the massive crimson tower that had fallen made a terrible gold-colored explosion, a massive spear appeared from inside those flames, so tall like a tower they had to look up to see all of it. It was too large even for a giant's hand. That divinely beautiful spear of the gods was so massive, it gave the illusion that the fallen tower had turned into a spear of the same size. It was a spear of certain victory that none could escape. Looks like your twin towers won't help you now. How foolish to block off your means of escape on both sides. You can't defend against even a single spear. When she snapped her fingers in command, the massive tower-sized spear shot at Beatrice like a lightning bolt. It aimed right for the middle of the center of the Golden Witch's heart with extreme precision, as she danced in the gap between the towers like a butterfly, slicing straight through the air like a flash of lightning. Ha! So you use Gungnir at a moment like this. You really are incredible, teacher. Burst, useless towers. Arise, giant soldier battle line. Fully block that divine spear with your shields and chests. The shoulder war towers exploded in gold. They became several billion gold butterflies. Those butterflies took the shape of 7 massive armored soldiers. Each stretched a full 50 meroots into the sky, and they lined up in front of Beatrice, protecting their master, and holding massive shields that tower like windmills. They were as massive as a mountain range. The witch behind them was like a small moon hiding behind the mountains. Once in the past, when the massive shields these giants held had been readied by the whole regiment, they had protected King Wilhelm's castle, not only from arrows, but from the wind and the rain. For when they had faced upwards and held their shields to the heavens, not a single raindrop had gotten through. Foolish. The shame of a witch who has forgotten to respect things sacred. Did you think mere giants could defend against the spear of the gods? Indeed, no matter how much human metal you are armed with, you cannot block a spear of the gods. A wonderful epaulet made by Madame. No way, Beatrice-sama. Of course I haven't forgotten, teacher. Come arise, disciples of Hephaestus. Bestow upon me a worthy shield. A golden whirlwind arose at the feet of the giant soldiers. It was a cloud of countless butterflies. They attached themselves to the massive shields like gold leaf, sparkling like they were a gold mirror. It was the absolute defensive wall given to a goddess by the chief of the gods, the Aegis Shield. When the holy spear, which left a dignified tail behind it, like a comet, crashed into the mountain range of that gold shield, There was a terrible, thunderous roar. It was the creaking of the pillars that held the heavens. The divine spear spun around and around and was sent flying in the direction of the setting sun. Impossible! She defended against the divine spear. No, that is not correct. The divine spear avoided her. It is the law of the gods that an absolute spear and an absolute shield must never fight one another. Although in the end, it means the same thing as defending against it. Your skills have improved from engaging in these fights so often. Or rather, it seems you're still as bad as ever at this kind of game, teacher. It's my turn to strike back. I shall follow the code and counter a spear with a spear. The giant soldier battle line, which had fully blocked the divine spear, released its holy gold shields. The shields fell to the earth, making the ground shake. When they did, another gold whirlwind arose, and the 7 gold shields changed their form into 7 massive spears of lightning lying on the ground. At once, each of the giants lifted one of their legs high and firmly stomped on the tips of the handles. As the earth shook with a thunderous sound, the 7 lightning spears spun beautifully and flew up above the giant soldiers' heads. They scattered into a golden splash and began to fall before the giants. Each of the giants squared off, and with the force of their whole body, they kicked and smashed them. The broken pieces numbered exactly 30 and became lightning spears of exactly the same size as the originals, which made 210 for the 7 giants, and all of them burst at once, with each splitting into 30 thorns for a total of 6,300. They became a barrage of thunderclouds drawing a beautiful geometric pattern, and then each changed into 3 bolts of lightning, so that 18,900 thunderbolts shot at the predecessor Beatrice. It's over, Beatrice-sama. I would expect nothing less from Madam. That bundle of almost 20,000 thunderbolts must have reduced the teacher's body to dust. But there had been no resistance. Beatrice knew immediately that she had been fooled. At that time, from the direction that the sun had supposedly set, she felt the impossible rays of sunlight. A brilliant ray of light shone on her profile. It was the figure of her teacher, holding aloft the spear of the gods that had supposedly been repelled a short while ago. She bore a sparkle like the sun on her back and made it shine on the incarnation of darkness. As Beatrice watched, she was trapped like a mouse in a cage, cornered in a dead end formed by the giant soldier battle line. By now, the predecessor Beatrice had seized a position directly alongside that line. Playtime is over, Beatrice. Have I exposed my flank? Her bold expression hadn't faltered even once, but now it twisted for the first time. And faster than Beatrice could click her tongue, the predecessor Beatrice released the holy spear. As it leapt through the air, it changed its form once more. Come, arise, the Verger brothers. Bestow upon me the giant-smashing iron hammer of heaven. Giant soldiers, protect me. What are you doing, you blockheads? By now, it was no longer a spear, but a whirlwind of a massive hammer that raised a sound like a windstorm as it flew through the air. It was the legendary hammer that had shaken even the king of the frost giants, so the giant soldiers couldn't escape from that fear. So regardless of how strongly their master ordered them, they couldn't get in the path of that hammer. Back, rank mate. Rest in peace. Damn it. Before the whirlwind of that massive chunk of metal, Beatrice was nothing more than a mere speck. The instant that whirlwind started to suck Beatrice in, she appeared to change into a massive war tower. The iron hammer smashed the war tower, scattering tremendous amounts of rubble that did not reach she who had escaped behind it. Furthermore, when the smoke started to settle, the war tower had sucked in the massive iron hammer without crumbling and blocked the way. Even the giant smashing iron hammer couldn't break through the final tower protecting the witch. However, this war tower was actually the witch's last trump card. It was a war tower for dodging that could only save her from danger once. But this tower was impregnable. No weapon could break through it. At that time, the moon disappeared, and Beatrice, or as Beatrice hid in the shadows of the giant soldier battle line and the war tower, she looked up at the sky. When she did, inside the moon was the figure of a massive horse ridden by the god of war and death. The predecessor Beatrice rode the horse with him. His cloak had blocked the moon and swallowed it in an eerie shadow, and the spear of the gods was in his hand once more. In other words, it was a godly knight who had jumped over the ramparts, formed by the giant soldiers in the war tower attacking from the heavens. You got me. Smothered mate. It was fun, Beatrice. Ugh. The struggle to the death between the two witches with the same name was over. The spear that had been launched from the heavens pierced the ground. The giant soldier battle line and the war tower split up into countless gold butterflies, wrapping the area in a gold-colored storm. Then came the sound of thunder, and the sound of the falling rain and wind. If you looked around, the rose garden was empty. The butler and the rest were watching the two witches confronting each other. But Beatrice alone had changed. She had been pierced straight through by the spear, from the base of her neck and her right shoulder to her left buttocks, unable to even reach the ground with her feet. Horribly exposed like a pitiful pinned butterfly, tormented by the wind and rain. Beatrice-sama. As expected, a truly fearsome person. That settles it, Beatrice. Ugh. Ow. Beatrice wore a bitter smile of false courage, but a strand of blood dangled from her mouth, making her look even more pitiful. The title and power of the Endless Witch. You will return them to me now, along with the name Beatrice. You are too immature to call yourself an Endless Witch. Stop. Forgive me, teacher. I was just fooling around, okay? I will take my name back from you. I shall return you to your original form. Perhaps you should relinquish this power, which is beyond you, and live a life suitable for yourself. Come, try to remember. What form did you have? The predecessor Beatrice began to recite the words of power. When she did, small gold butterflies gathered near the skewered Beatrice and began to swarm about her. Like butterflies sucking the nectar out of flowers, they began to suck the magical power out of Beatrice, and it seemed to cause her intense pain. A cry of anguish issued from Beatrice's mouth. She no longer had any power to resist it. Come, try closing your eyes. Try to remember. What form did you have? Come, Beatrice, repeat it with me. Let us sing a song together. Then it will be over soon. Let us end your pain as fast as possible. Ha, ha, you're right. How long has it been since I've sung with you, teacher? Come, together now. Come, try to remember. What form did you have? Come, try to remember. What form did you have? When the two of them began to recite the same song, more and more gold butterflies danced around, swarming around Beatrice. It will be alright, milady. You will lose your place as my disciple, but that will not change the fact that you are the lady I serve. After that, I shall read a book for you again. I shall bake you apple pies once more, just like it was long ago. Come, try to remember. Ha ha ha. Yes. Try to remember. Are you finally starting to remember? Hey, teacher. Do you remember that thing behind you? What is this? When the predecessor Beatrice looked behind her, there was an eerie hedgehog curled up there. No, it was herself. There was another predecessor Beatrice, whose whole body had been packed with ballista shots, lying there like a pincushion doll. Come, try to remember. What form did you have? Or maybe that's not right. Come, try to remember. How were you killed? The predecessor Beatrice was stunned. Her form gradually began to fade away. This is... When did you... At the beginning, I did not summon a pair of shoulder towers. There were 4 towers. Teacher, you carelessly stepped across the 7th rank rook boundary of death created by the 2 hidden towers, which were lurking in the distance on either side of you. It was bad manners of me to say check this late. I simply must apologize. The battle had been decided at the very beginning. It had been over since the time the predecessor had leaned forward, readying her holy spear to attack Beatrice, who had been wedged between her shoulder towers. The hidden towers lurking on either side had bathed her in a windstorm of ballista shots from 720 ports on both sides, hitting and killing her. However, Beatrice hadn't wanted it to be resolved like that. She had wanted to let her teacher take her next move, and had continued acting as though the game was still on. She had immediately revived her with her endless power, and it made her continue the game as though nothing had happened. Then the predecessor slowly remembered that she had already been killed, and began to vanish completely. When she did, the spear that had pierced Beatrice also vanished. Beatrice finally landed on the ground. There wasn't even a trace of a scar. It was fun, teacher. If you want to play again, I'll revive you anytime. And once we've had some fun, I'll make you remember that you're a corpse again. See? I did everything you told me to, right? Didn't you tell me to always put my toys back in their boxes when I'm done playing with them? Was it an easy victory? You fool, it was a tough one. If I hadn't tricked her with the 4 towers, I would have been the one dead, as I'd expect from teacher. But now I can stand proud. Now I've completely surpassed teacher. Ronov, clean up teacher's remains a bit. I haven't lost my respect for her that much. Certainly, tonight's first twilight became a little too riotous. A little cleanup will be necessary. I shall see to it immediately. Goats, it is time to clean up. When Ronov snapped his fingers, blazing, sparkling eyes began to blink open in the shadows and darkness, becoming goat-headed attendants that appeared one after another. One by one, they wordlessly stood at attention in a line behind Ronov's back. This time, what shall be done about the 6 corpses? Another closed room pattern? I'm in no mood to think now. I will leave it to you, Ronov. An extraordinary closed room to torment Battler, if you would. Certainly. Then it shall be extraordinary. Okay, where's Battler? Battler, did you see my big moment? Damn it. After being shown that screwed up magical storm, what can I deny? Forget just witches existing. After being shown that tremendous, flashy fantasy, what can I deny now? I don't get it anymore. It was like that last time too, but how can I deny these awesome, wonderful, magical battles? Isn't that right? After watching this, you can't talk your way out of it, right? Okay, Battler, let me hear some ridiculous reasoning. Milady, your laugh is becoming undignified. Oh, my apologies, but that isn't my fault. After all, if Badler tightly closes his eyes, grinds his teeth, and shows me that ever so bitter expression, it just automatically slips out of my mouth, you see. So, Badler-sama, why don't you return to the table without losing heart? Milady is expecting your counterattack, you see. Quit messing with me. How the hell can I make a counter-argument? In the first place, everything was already screwed up when that tower sprouted out of the earth. Should I say that under the ground in Rokujima there's a secret laboratory for building super alloy combining robots or something? That pushing a button can make these strange towers sprout up? Right, and then those huge giants must be the robots. Or maybe an evil secret association's mecha monsters. I don't get it. Don't talk to me. Ugh. Look, don't cry, okay? Bang, bang, it's magic. If you want, I'll crush the moon and make comets fall like rain. I can even bury the whole island in these massive breasted nichons you like so much, see? Come on, look, my turn's over, see? Show me your response, launch your counterattack. You can't, can you? Except that there's a quadrillion things you can't do. You're useless against this, right? You actually like this kind of fantasy, don't you? I get it, that's been going around on the streets lately, hasn't it? In manga and light novels, in anime and movies, some teenage brats get a whole bunch of strange special abilities and they blow up all sorts of stuff with the fate of the world on the line. You love that too, don't you? I know, don't hide it. You love it, right? Hasn't the thing you love just been displayed before your very eyes? Why do you believe it in manga and anime, but you won't believe it in me? Believe it. Can't argue back, not after you've been shown something like this, right? Look, answer. You don't need to think, you can just obediently say, I'm sorry, Beatrice-sama. Look, try saying it. I'm sorry, Beatrice-sama, try saying it. Say it, don't be embarrassed. There would have been no way to tell that morning had come without opening a window and looking up at the cloudy sky, which had become a little bit lighter. It wasn't a refreshing morning. All that could be heard was the sound of the rain, which hadn't stopped falling since last night, and the howl of the wind. It's hard to imagine that it's morning. This horrible weather speaks for our hearts. Hey, it could be worse. At least it's just rain and not spears falling from the sky. Whether it's rain or spears, it's coming down with a bang. Is it already 6 o'clock? Isn't this enough? After this, we've got no measures we can take till the mystery 19th person Beatrice makes her move. True. However, I believe we have anticipated every trick they might use against us. That's right. As long as a traitor doesn't appear among the siblings, we should be able to deal with most situations. Haven't we talked about this enough? We stayed up all night. I'm tired. You're right. How about taking a little rest after eating breakfast? A good plan. Staying up all night is trying at our age. As they all stretched, they enjoyed this unrefreshing morning as best as they could. I'll go wash my face or something. I probably look horrible. Huh? What is that awful stench? As soon as they exited into the corridor, Kirie openly made a disgusted expression. What is it? Hey, don't you smell something awful? What is that stench? I can't stand it. After hearing those complaints, everyone stuck their heads out into the corridor. The stench was faint, but once people started commenting on it, it was clearly noticeable. Each of them went into the corridor, relying on their own sense of smell to tell them where the strange odor was coming from. What in the world could it be? Let us have Genji deal with it. I believe he should already have arrived in the servant room to begin the morning preparations. Indeed, please do. At the very least, it's difficult to imagine Goda making breakfast that would cause such an odor. Rudolph and the others searched for the source of the smell and determined it was coming from underground, from the boiler room. But the door was locked and they couldn't check inside. At the same time, when Natsui's group was on its way to search for someone in the server room, they noticed something strange near the parlor. What is this? What a horrible prank. Who would do something like this? On the door to the parlor, drawn in a paint that looked like blood, was a strange thing that looked like a magic circle. There's no one in the kitchen yet. What is that? Ava's group, who thought the smell might be coming from the kitchen, had returned after confirming no one was there, and the preparations for breakfast had not yet begun. Then they noticed a change to the parlor. It's useless, the boiler room's locked. Wouldn't that be bad if something went wrong with the boiler? Has anyone spotted a servant? Is one of those vulgar scribbles there too? There was another one on the door to the boiler room. What's that? This creepy scribble isn't just here, but it's in other places too? Huh, you don't think this is the Witch of the Forest Beatrice's declaration of war, do you? Hideyoshi tried to make fun of it, but staring at this creepy magic circle while listening to the wind and rain really made it seem like a message from a witch. The dripping, bright red paint made one think of blood, which made it even creepier. Hideyoshi tried to open the door, but it had been locked. As a general rule, the parlor wasn't locked. Someone had gone out of their way to unlock it, or to lock it. What does this mean? Could it be that while we were talking in the dining hall, someone secretly left this scribble on the doors of the parlor and the boiler room? I'm sure the servants are behind this. We were together the whole time. We all have alibis. They probably received some strange order from father and pulled this prank. And there's also the case yesterday with Maria-chan's letter. It's really easy to suspect that the servants are acting on Dad's orders and planning something. Anyway, where is everyone? They can't be playing hide and seek. Let's look for them. Before that, I'm worried about the children. They are safe, right? I'll go and check while I'm there, and I'll see if there's any servants there. Let's split up. While you go to the guest house to see if the brats are doing, we'll investigate inside the mansion. I don't want to think about it, but maybe these creepy magic circles aren't just in the places we found them already. We might be wrapped up in some bizarre game of fathers. I will go to him and hear the situation, though I doubt he'll obediently listen to me. The adults split up. As a result, they confirmed that the 4 children were safe in the so-called cousin's room on the 2nd floor of the guest house. They had apparently stayed up late last night playing. All of them were snoring loudly, so Rosa decided not to wake them. Furthermore, Nanjo, who had returned early the previous night to rest, was also safe. It seemed he believed in the phrase early to bed, early to rise, and had awoken refreshed. During that time, Kiria and Hideyoshi searched for the servants, but they couldn't find them. The servant room in the guest house was also empty. The children are safe. They all stayed up too late last night. The servant room is empty. I looked at the shift chart and the morning shift begins at 6 o'clock. They should have started working by now. The nap room is also empty. There were signs that a futon had been slept in, but it wasn't warm. Hey, isn't everyone's reasoning right on this? This is probably a game Father set up. He must have left those creepy scribbles and hid himself somewhere, trying to make us do something. Are you saying he's trying to see who's fit to succeed his wealth in the headship? Isn't that a bit... No, it might not be strange if Father was behind something like that. After all, Father loves doing things on a big scale. This might have been a finely tuned plan, starting back as far as when the epitaph was hung in the hall. Coffee Dreams, thank you so much for the sub, I really appreciate it. Thanks for being a froggy friend. Hope you're having a good evening or day, and a great start to your new year. In that case, I wonder if they'll give us an announcement of the game or some explanation of it. It certainly would be nice if an envelope with a crest, like the one handed to Maria-chan, were to appear. That's right, maybe Nissan and the rest have found something like that in the mansion. Dr. Nanjo, have you heard anything about this? My apologies, I have no idea what's going on. And yet, yes, certainly, I could easily imagine Kinzo-san planning something on a big scale. Shouldn't we go back to the mansion for now? Maybe they found something over there. If I won't be in the way, I shall go too. I'll stay here. The children are sleeping upstairs. We don't know what's happening. We cannot leave them alone. That's right. I'll stay with Rosa-san and watch over the place. Would you tell that to my husband? Rosa and Kirie remained in the guest house. Hideyoshi went with Nanjo and returned again to the mansion. At the same time in the mansion, in a way that was hard to believe, or maybe we should say in a way that gave him a bad feeling, Rudolph's prediction was spot on. The same magic circle graffiti that had been drawn on the doors to the boiler room and the parlor had been found in multiple places throughout the mansion. Aniki, how's Dad? It was no use. I received no response. I tried putting my ear against the door, but I couldn't sense anyone. There's no sign of any of the servants. Where in the world did they disappear to? This isn't funny. Father and the servants are hiding, and there are strange magic circles all over the mansion. What in the world is happening? There weren't only magic circles on the door to the boiler room and the door to the parlor. There were 2 on the 2nd floor, and 1 on the 3rd floor, for a total of 5. They were all the same magic circle, and all the doors had been locked, so they couldn't check inside the rooms. Anyway, let's do something about the boiler room first. It'd be bad if something broke down and caught fire or exploded. So we need the key. It should be in the key box in the servant room. They fished through that key box. Because each of the servants carried their master keys around, those weren't kept there. However, all the individual keys should have been kept there. I can't believe they managed to fit so many keys in there. It isn't here. No matter how much we look, the key to the boiler room isn't here. Look, Aniki, only the keys to the rooms with those magic circles drawn on them are totally missing. It's true. How bothersome. It's as though someone didn't want us to go into the rooms with the magic circles. No, they went to all the trouble of making those magic circles obvious, so maybe they wanted us to enter. I think it's the latter. This isn't a movie, so breaking down the door is probably impossible. Smashing a window might do the trick, though. For a while, Kraus pondered over whether the situation really called for smashing a window. At that time, Hideyoshi and Nanjo returned. There was nothing strange in the guest house, and the children were safe. They told the others that Rosa and Kiria had stayed to watch over the place. Morning. I heard that something strange has happened. Good morning, Dr. Nanjo. I apologize for waking you so early in the morning. What is it? Did you find a letter or something? I was sure you'd found something like that by now. You're right. I also believe this to be a massive joke or game of Father's. But if that's the case, there should be some letter telling us about it. Like the letter that was given to Maria-chan. What if Maria-chan's letter actually was the announcement, telling us that the game was on? The rules of the game, try solving the riddle of the epitaph, have already been made clear. Then what might the 5 magic circles we found in the mansion represent? And the missing servants? Natsui-ne-san, how many servants were there today in total? Huh? Genji, Goda? 5 of them, but why? So there are 5 servants. There are also 5 magic circles. It's probably a coincidence, but I don't like it. Nissan, let's break a window. We should check and see what's inside. We have no choice. Do it neatly. Kraus made his decision and gave permission to smash a window. And he decided that the room they would break into should be the parlor on the 1st floor, where the windows would be easiest to reach. They had hoped to peek in through the window, but the curtains were down so they couldn't see inside. Rudolph wandered around the garden trying to find something that might be good for smashing the window. Eventually he found a rock bigger than a fist and came back. You don't have to smash the whole thing, just open enough so you can reach the lock. Don't get your hopes up, okay? Rudolph raised the rock and hit the glass with it several times. Eventually, he succeeded at opening a hole big enough that he could unlock it from the outside. Covering his hand with a handkerchief, he stuck his hand through that hole and cautiously unlocked it. We should probably cover it with packing tape later. The rain will get blown in. When he suddenly opened the window, the rain and wind made the curtain dance around violently. That curtain was blown to the side. They could see into the parlor they knew well. They were a little relieved. They thought there might be another bizarre magic circle inside the room, or possibly the traces of some creepy ceremony. In any event, they didn't want to hang around out in the rain, so the 6 of them, Kraus, Natsui, Eva, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, and Nanjo, entered the parlor as a group. It seems that nothing in particular has changed. Ugh. What's wrong, Shannon? Wait, are you okay? What happened to you? Blood. Dr. Najo, take a look at this. Hey, Shannon-chan, are you okay? Answer me. You mustn't shake her. I'll examine her condition now. She had been in the shadow of the sofa, so they hadn't noticed her until they entered the room. Shannon was lying on the floor, her chest stained bright red with blood. Hey, Badler, where are you? Look, Shannon's corpse has turned up, see? I won't bully you anymore, so come out. Oh, there you are. What are you doing clutching at your head in a place like that? Badler was crouching under the table, holding his head. His pitiful figure made it plainly clear he didn't want to see anything, didn't want to hear anything. Had he heard Beatrice's sneering voice? Could he not hear, or was he pretending that he couldn't hear? In any event, it was clear he closed up his heart like a shell. Perhaps you tormented him too much, milady. After showing him all that and demanding a counter-argument, I can understand why he'd want to mope around. Hey, Badler, if you can't argue back, then resign, okay? It's your turn. If you don't make some move or pass, or else give up, we won't get anywhere. Huh? What's that? I can't hear you. I said be quiet. Shut up. A witch? Magic? Why don't you just do whatever you want? I don't believe any of it. Damn it. Don't talk to me, don't show me anything, disappear, just disappear. Don't get that annoying face near me. Badler winced reflexively at Beatrice winced reflexively at Badler's sudden rage. Even if you say that, you don't finish your turn, then my turn won't come. In fact, I'm the one asking you to stop boring me. Who cares? Be quiet, shut up! Who cares about your game? I won't go along with it. If your turn won't come until mine's finished, then just wait for all eternity. I don't know, I don't get it. I won't accept witches or magic, I won't accept something that's screwed up. Ugh, I said don't talk to me. I don't know what's what anymore. After being shown something that's screwed up, how could I resist? I wandered aimlessly through the rose garden. It was raining and windy, but that didn't mean my body got wet. It was just a feeling of isolation as I wandered amidst the wind and rain without an umbrella. Maybe I lost in that person's game a long time ago. Actually, didn't we already have a clear winner and loser in the last game? After all, I surrendered for a time. That's why the world was tinted with witches and magic. Right now, Rokenjima is a different world, where witches stride around openly and fire off strange spells. It isn't a matter of accepting it or denying it. Maybe I mistakenly assumed I was playing a game on an even footing with Bito. Maybe I was already defeated in the last game, and this is just signing ceremony of my surrender. A minute ago, a terrible battle unfolded in this rose garden. I saw it with my own eyes. I kicked the ground. Obviously, the ground was hard, and water from a puddle splashed. Several towers had split this ground, sprouting like high-rise buildings. The more I kicked this ground, the more I felt like that couldn't possibly have been what happened. But for that reason, I couldn't explain it with any other thing than magic anymore. If it was a closed room with a key shut up inside, I'd known it was probably an extension of stuff you often see in detective novels. But that big flashy thing, damn it. It seems my disciple has caused you much trouble. Huh? It's you. Someone suddenly spoke to me, so I turned around, and in the rose garden arbor was the predecessor Beatrice, whom Beatrice had supposedly defeated a short while ago. I was sure you died. So you survived. No, I did die. Now I am nothing more than a defeated chess piece loitering outside the chessboard. You're Bito's teacher, right? So in other words, you're a witch too. Yes, that is correct. So basically, that means witches really do exist, and the only one who can defeat her isn't me. That'd be you, since you can use awesome magic, right? I'm just useless now. There's nothing I can do anymore. Oh my. Have you surrendered completely? What do you mean, surrender? How am I supposed to explain that? Towers sprouting and falling? Huge giants holding shields and throwing spears? Just remembering it makes me feel like I'm going insane. We're way past the point of trying to reason this all out, aren't we? We've left the level of tricks and things that can be explained with human culprits. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Calm yourself. I am nothing more than a piece on that child's game board. After being removed from that board, I am no longer a being capable of doing anything. But you are that child's opponent. As long as you do not give up on your own, you will always have the power to strike back. Shut up. Weren't you also reciting strange spells and summoning towers and spears? What do you mean, strike back? Are you saying you'll teach me magic too and make me take part in that massive magic battle? If you wish, I could teach you a bit about magic. Oh, just what I wanted. Please give me some awesome magic to smash through her chest in one blow. Don't screw with me. I hear that in Japanese magic, there's a ceremony used to pray for rain. Do you know of it? A rain ceremony? That thing where you throw stuff into a fire and dance as an offering? That's not magic. They say that the fire causes an updraft, which makes rain clouds gather. That's supposed to be an accepted scientific phenomenon. Oh, I believed it to be a form of Eastern magic, but is that not the case? I believe people offered sacred fire to the heavens, as well as a dance of respect, so that your entreaty for rain would reach the hearts of the gods. Maybe people did that a long time ago, but most occult things like that have a scientific explanation. Why do things burn? Isn't that because phlogiston is contained in the material? If you're not familiar with phlogiston, it's like an outdated theory about how things burned. Way back in the past when people didn't understand burning, they used to think that everything in the world was filled with this invisible liquid called phlogiston, and that when you burn something, you were burning the phlogiston. But obviously it was proven to be untrue, but it's commonly used as like a learning tool to show like how you can explain things with science. No, things burn because of a chemical reaction. Lavoisier abolished the phlogiston theory. Why does heat transfer through objects? Isn't that because caloric is contained in the material? This is also an outdated theory of why heat transfers between objects, which is untrue as we know now. I'm pretty sure that was abolished by Joule. Heat is energy, not a substance. You have studied well. Your knowledge is accurate. It's just some trivia. Phlogiston, caloric, and eventually ether and God's love. All are powerless before a scientific explanation. In the past, I was told that an apple falling from a tree was thanks to God's love, so the humans would be given food. So even gravity is the love of God. Well, that's probably the remnants from a period where religion, rather than science, was used to explain everything. That is correct. In the past, humans called the limits of their knowledge. No, ignorance itself. Magic. Like the rain ceremony we were just talking about. Did the people of ancient times realize that there was a scientific explanation? That fire gave rise to heat to cause updrafts and summon clouds. Even without understanding these things, they at least knew the results. That probably happened a lot. That stuff called knowledge of the ancestors. Even without understanding the reason, through long experience, they knew that they'd achieve results. Phenomena whose principles they didn't understand were probably the same as magic to them. Like this person just said, ancient people who didn't understand those principles probably believed that, through the rain ceremony, their wishes would reach the heavens and make rain fall. To them, that was certainly magic. As long as they didn't understand updrafts. If you push an electrical switch, a light turns on. Children do not know the scientific principles behind why a light bulb lights up. They only know the results when they push the switch. If they obtain such results without knowing the principles, doesn't that make it magic to them? That's pretty interesting. Well, logically, that's true. For example, I don't have a clue why the brawn tubes in the TV show a picture. Still, I think it's totally normal to see things shown on a TV. Even if I don't understand the principles behind brawn tubes, I at least know that if I push the switch, I can watch TV. It's exactly the same as having a rain ceremony without understanding updrafts. In other words, if I don't know the principles, even TV is the same as magic. Or even magic itself, I guess. Do you know the structure of brawn tubes? Have you ever taken one apart and looked inside? Nope. I think I read about it in a book or something once, but it was complicated and I didn't have a clue. I think that when electrons hit a fluorescent material, it creates luminescence or something like that. That book lied. Actually, there are small people called gremlins shut up inside the brawn tubes, and they do their work with magic. Huh? Don't be stupid, there's no way that's true. How can you deny it if you've never looked inside a brawn tube? I've never looked inside, but I can say for sure that small people like that definitely don't exist. Since there are no brawn tubes here, that is impossible to prove. Yeah, it's impossible to prove right now, but later I can take apart a TV somewhere and show you, and instantly win the argument. So put another way, my magical theory that gremlins are shut up inside the brawn tubes and display the picture with magic is impossible to disprove until we can verify the contents of a brawn tube. Correct? What the hell? Is this one of those? Are you trying to say it's a devil's proof? That's a favorite trick of you witches. A devil's proof is a bit of sophistry, one that takes advantage of the fact that negative facts are impossible to prove. However, it's different from my brawn tubes metaphor. That could be resolved by simply taking apart a single television. You're right. It isn't really a devil's proof. You proposed a scientific theory, and I have proposed a magical one. One of those is the truth, and which one it is can be ascertained the moment you look inside a brawn tube. However, until the instant that happens, we cannot deny each other's theories. So even though only one truth exists, until you look into the brawn tube, you can have two conflicting truths existing at the same time. You have a realm in which two truths can exist simultaneously, even though there must only be one truth in existence. Is the cat in the box alive or dead? If you open the box, you will learn the answer. You will learn the truth. However, until you open the box, you can claim that the cat is alive, and you can also claim that it is dead. Both claims are the correct truth according to the people making them. And even though the two sides are in conflict, neither can win the argument as long as the box remains unopened. In other words, two truths can exist at the same time. Even though there can only be one cat in the box, it is packed with a living cat and a dead cat, forming a strange, separate world. That is what Rokanjima is now. This island is now a different world, where a scientific theory and a magical one can exist at the same time. To a resident of the world of science, such as yourself, at a glance, it may feel as though this island has been sucked into a world of magic. That might not be wrong, but it is not accurate. Strictly speaking, it has been moved from the world of science to the gap between that world and the world of magic. So at a glance, it appears to you as though the world is tilted towards the magical side. But in reality, this island is now in a perfectly impartial position with relation to those two opposing worlds. I don't really get it. The gap between reality and magic. A perfectly impartial world. How's that? Hasn't pretty much everything that's happened been totally not in my favor? Then perhaps you could think of it this way. This is a trial. Think of it as a court where you and Beatrice are laying out opposing claims, calling it a brawn tube trial. Your opponent claims that there are tiny people inside the brawn tubes, explaining one thing after another, talking about the lives of these tiny people, what they look like, what type of magical power they have. And what do? Well, I study in a library and argue back by explaining how brawn tubes are constructed. At this moment, both your claim and that child's claim exist in the court at the same time. If you find your opponent's claim convincing, it might sound like truth to you. It might look like truth to you. That is exactly what you saw. At this moment on Rokonjima, witches and magic certainly may exist as truth. However, until the moment that the cat's box is opened, that world is an uncertain wave function. The entire situation can be explained by both sides at the same time. However, there is one truth. That set of truths shrinks with observation, and countless truths are weeded out to become one truth. It is like when in court, the judge hands down his judgment. The two truths from the prosecutors and the defense's claims are reduced in number by the judgment and become one. To say it in your words, this island right now is the world right before looking into the Brawn Tube, right? Therefore, the science theory and the magic theory cannot be denied. And since they cannot be denied, both can exist as truth. Therefore, both witches and magic can exist. However, at the same time, your opinion of denial also exists as truth. It is a world where two conflicting things can exist at once. And it is a world where conflicting truths cannot disprove each other. Have you managed to understand? In other words, no matter how much awesome magic Beto shows me, it's only a claim of magical theory, and it doesn't disprove my position. So no matter what kind of magic Beto shows me in this world, it cannot become proof that magic exists. That's right. That child might even try to explain an apple falling from a tree with magic, perhaps by shaking her staff and magically plucking the apple, and then claiming to be the thing that made it drop down to the earth. However, that would be nothing more than another claim. None of your opponent's claims can prevent you from making yours. In that sense, this world is quite impartial to both sides. I get it. Still, by that argument, if I show a sound argument with my science theory, and it collides head-on with her magic theory, I also can't win against her. On top of that, the final judgment won't come until we peek into the Brawn Tube. Where is the Brawn Tube in this world? Because it exists, there should be no reason for us to argue. Why don't we just get along and peek into the Brawn Tube? If there really is a tiny person in there, it's my complete loss. Otherwise, it's my victory. Why do we have to hold this debate without looking into the Brawn Tube? That itself is the game you are being challenged to. Maybe instead of a court, I should use chess as an example. There, victory and loss are not determined by a judge. You, who fight, will decide it yourselves. Can you win an argument with an opponent in a screwed up world where multiple truths can exist at the same time? In actual fact, didn't you lose an argument and surrender like this? Huh. That is all the advice I can give you now. If you wish, I can occasionally offer you counsel. Sure. Thanks, that really helps. I'll avenge you. Oh, thank you. I look forward to it. What's your name? Beatrice used to be my name, but now that I have surrendered it, I do not have a name. So, I shall take a temporary name. Virgilius. No. How about Virgilia? So, Beatrice, her name, of course, is the name Beatrice, but Beatrice is also the name of Dante's beloved in Dante's Inferno, his beloved that he's trying to save from hell. In Dante's Inferno, Dante is led and guided through hell, or the purgatory, by Virgil. You might recognize those names as well from like Devil May Cry. So Beatrice is, her name's coming from Dante's Inferno. Here, Virgilia, her name is obviously based on Virgil. In the anime, they call her Virgilia, so I'm not going to say Virgilia, I'm going to say Virgilia, because that's what I'm used to. There was a character in the Umineko series that Ryukishi originally wanted to call Virgilius, and then he scrapped that character and then created Virgilia. He played a different role, though. He wasn't Beatrice's predecessor. Virgilius does not appear in Umineko, the original Umineko at least. He was added later in a separate side story as kind of like a fun homage to this discarded character. So, some fun Umineko trivia there. Virgilia. Like Valkyria. Wasn't that a name for goddesses that showed up in myths? No. It means the guide who leads the way to Beatrice. Like Virgil from Dante's Inferno. I will guide you to that child who waits at the summit of Mount Purgatory. It ought to be a fitting name for such a guide. Who would have guessed I'd accept help from a witch when I'm trying to deny witches? I see. If this is a contradictory world where different claims can exist at the same time, I guess that's cool. It's almost funny. I am borrowing that child's words, but you truly are like a phoenix. Your will to fight has already been revived. Come, if your heart is prepared, return to your opponent. Return to the chessboard where that child is seated. I look forward to seeing how far you can fight with my disciple. Yeah, watch it. I won't listen to her babbling anymore. I'll coolly fight to the end. I definitely won't get provoked by her any longer. Then let us return to the seat of the battle. Oh, Battler, where did you run off to? Huh. And I thought losers never came back for more. Sorry to keep you waiting. I've cooled my head a little. And did you think of a response to that pleasant, thrilling, refreshing, highly acclaimed, wonderful fantasy battle between teacher and me? Isn't that impossible to explain without fantasy? Milady, did you just promise to be kind and act more gracefully? Oh no, oh no. I just got in such a good mood when I saw Battler's face, you see. Look, how are you gonna respond to that battle just now, Battler? Battle? What battle? What? In this rose garden? Where do you see those spears and towers you made lying around? They aren't here, are they? In other words, it's just like the inside of a brawn tube. The inside of a brawn tube? What in the world are you talking about now? At this very moment, there's nothing at all in the rose garden. Towers may have been sprouting with magic until a short while ago. However, that's only the case until you've seen what's inside the brawn tube. That magical battle is nothing more than your interpretation, your claim. The fact that there's absolutely nothing to see here now proves it. This is how I argue back about that witch's battle just now. Right now, there isn't anything here which proves that nothing happened. Come now, of course I can't make a huge mess when it's only the first twilight, and I'm rather fond of that rose garden, you see. To prevent any damage, I had the fight occur inside a barrier, so it's only natural it wouldn't have any influence on reality. That's your claim? Well, I guess that works. However, at this point in time, there's nothing in the rose garden, so nothing stands in my way of my claim that there was no magic done here. Wait, can you deny my magic with a mess like that? It is impossible to prove that magic does not exist. It's a devil's proof. At this point in time, this garden is the truth. The instant you look inside, the tiny people inside the brawn tube will vanish. And there are no traces of magic here at all, so that battle between you and witches did not take place. Beatrice must be so confused why he keeps talking about the brawn tube. What the? That counter? That power? Could it be? Have you forgotten, milady? It is the multi-layered world's reduction technique. The power of a finite witch, the counter to the power of an endless witch. Only an endless witch can perceive it, and it is most effective against such a witch. Schrodinger's cat box? That old hag of a witch, what an uncalled for hint. We've lost time. Including the 5 servants and grandfather, there are 6 corpses. Let me check the scene. I've been trudging along wasting time. From now on, I'll speed things up, okay? Take a seat, Beatrice. It's finally the first twilight, isn't it? Let's start the real thing. Show me what you got. Okay, so I think that's a good place to leave off for today. You know, a lot happened. Like, at the beginning, it was almost like nothing was happening when we were, like, listening to Rose's story and hearing about this Beatrice's past, and then suddenly we had, like, the fight between Canon and Lucifer, and then the fight between Beatrice and Virgilia. Being introduced to more characters and more kind of high-stakes things are happening. But again, I think you're starting to see a little bit more of how this story takes shape. So the murders are happening, meta-world battlers trying to explain them, Beatrice is kind of showing off all these magical explanations, and he's trying to figure out a way to explain the murders using worldly explanations. And he's got new hints and new allies now in the form of Virgilia as well. So you can see here, our cast, none of them have been declared dead yet here, even though we know that Shannon, Kanon, Genji, Goda, Kumasawa, and Kinzo are pretty much done for. We kind of know that they're the first Twilight. You can see there's a next button now, which is kind of neat, because now it shows us Virgilia, Beatrice, Ronov, there's a Seven Sisters of Purgatory, and the goats. What if you click on, I think if you just click on the Seven Sisters, it cycles through them. And again, they're all named after different demons that are associated with the 7 deadly sins. So that's kind of neat. And so now that we've actually gotten going with the first Twilight, the rest of episode 3 does pick up a lot more. I mean, it was already picking up, but we pretty much just go non-stop through all the different Twilights, all the different murders, and more clues are revealed. I said before, I think of the first 4 episodes, I like episode 3 the most, because I feel like the most happens in episode 3. It's the least amount of setup at the beginning, and then the most amount of, like, action stuff happening, compared to episode 1 and 2. Episode 4 has a lot of that stuff, but I think episode 3 has kind of the more intriguing stuff to go along with it. But anyways, that's enough time for today. Thank you so much for coming by. Happy New Year's Eve, or Happy New Year's, depending on which time zone. It's almost about to be New Year's here for me. And I really appreciate you guys hanging out, and thank you so much for the raids, and for the subs, and the gift subs. I really appreciate it. So tomorrow, January 1st, well, if you're watching this on YouTube, it won't be January 1st, but if you're watching this on Twitch, January 1st, evening, we're gonna have a Jackbox party. Me and a few friends are going to be playing Jackbox on stream. Same time as usual. Probably. Keep an eye out on Twitter for announcements, because I need to coordinate. But we will be doing a Jackbox stream, and you guys can participate in the audience. It'll be a lot of fun, and a good way to kick off the new year. And so thank you so much for all the support, and for everything, and I hope we have another great year of streaming and videos ahead of us. So with that, let's see if anyone is online that could use a raid. Oh, a bunch of people are on. I can't decide who we should raid. You know what? We've never raided Nino before, so let's go to Nino's. The Nino's a really fun streamer, so you should go check her out. Wait, why is there a timer on her page? Oh, she's counting down the new year. Okay, let's give her a raid right now. Okay, thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.